Chapter 41. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with a deeper meaning that can't be found online are all available here. Gu Jiao would never have thought that in her previous life, she would have to start from a primary school girl after going through college entrance exams, postgraduate exams, and PhD exams. Moreover, it was in the field that she wasn't good at, writing with a brush. Gu Jiao was listless. She didn't feel very good. Although there was a beauty by her side, she didn't want to practice writing with a brush. No. Let's start with your name, Xiao Lulang said. His voice was between a teenager's voice and a mature man's voice. It didn't have the unpleasant sound of a duck's throat. Instead, it had a clean and low tone. Gu Jiao was a little powerless to resist. She opened her eyes wide and silently watched him write her name on the paper. It was different from when he signed the surgical consent form earlier. This time, it seemed to be more neatly written. However, Gu Jiao still didn't understand it. Gu Jiao was opposite Xiao Lulang. From her perspective, the words were upside down. Xiao Lulang turned the paper upside down so that Gu Jiao could see it clearly. Then, he wrote down the strokes and the order of the strokes one by one on the paper. Gu Jiao looked at all the strokes and felt a headache coming on. These weren't traditional Chinese characters, nor were they clerical characters. They were characters that she was completely unfamiliar with. Xiao Lulang saw Gu Jiao clumsily grasping the numbness, with a bitter look on her face. He said, "The way you hold the brush isn't right. Move your hand up a little. Don't be too stiff with your wrist." Like this? Gu Jiao adjusted her hand according to his instructions. Gu Jiao's way of holding the brush was actually quite standard in her previous life. However, in front of Xiao Lulang, it was a little inadequate. Index finger, Xiao Lulang said. Gu Jiao was confused. Xiao Lulang hesitated for a moment. Then, he reached out with his slender fingers and gently pushed her index finger up. If he had done this on any other occasion, Gu Jiao would definitely have said, "He touched my fingertips, so it can be considered as holding hands." However, he was teaching her how to read. To put it simply, it was a lesson. Gu Jiao had always been very serious in class. Gu Jiao took off her shoes and sat cross-legged in front of him. She practiced stroke by stroke seriously. Xuan Ningxiang was waiting in the living room. She didn't understand why Gu Jiao was in there for so long. The letter was not long. Why did he have to read it for so long? Xuan Ningxiang didn't know that the two people in the room had completely forgotten about the letter. One was reading a book and the other was practicing calligraphy. Xiao Lulang would occasionally correct Gu Jiao's posture when holding the brush. As for whether her handwriting was good or not, he didn't force her. After all, it was her first time holding a brush. It was already good enough that she didn't write on the paper. If Gu Jiao knew what he was thinking, she would probably jump up and run away. She was a modern top student. How could it be her first time holding a brush? Gu Jiao's memory was still very good. She only needed to write once to learn the complicated strokes. However, her handwriting was too ugly to look at. According to Xiao Lulang standards, it was like a primary school chicken who had just started holding a brush. After all, his handwriting when he was 2 years old was better than this. The two of them unknowingly stayed in the room for an hour. In the end, the matriarch came to look for Gu Jiao out of boredom. Only then did she discover that the two of them were actually writing in the room. The matriarch didn't go closer to look. She only glanced at the door. It was red paper. She immediately made a judgment in her heart. Writing couplets? Oh, it's time to write. If you don't write now, you won't be able to make it in time. Call me when you're done. She wanted to put up the couplets. This was a very beautiful misunderstanding. However, Gu Jiao didn't think that Xiao Lulang didn't take the red paper to write couplets. It was just a coincidence that she was learning how to write and it was delaying his progress. Now that the matriarch mentioned it, she would return to the right track and start writing couplets. "I'll cut the paper." Gu Jiao put down the brush and went to the room to find scissors. Thank you, great aunt, for saving her from this disaster. If she continued to practice like this, Zhangzhou would be crippled. Xiao Lulang looked at the red paper in front of him, and his expression was a bit absent-minded. However, when Gu Jiao neatly cut the paper in front of him, he still picked up the brush and wrote a few couplets. Write a few couplets for Xiao Shui too. The matriarch reminded. The matriarch liked Xuan Ningxiang very much. Of course, she also liked Gu Jiao very much. Although she didn't say it, Gu Jiao could feel other people's good intentions and bad intentions toward her. When Xuan Ningxiang met her for the first time, she had a strong sense of bad intentions. Now this bad intentions had completely disappeared. The matriarch's liking for Xuan Ningxiang was different from her liking for Gu Jiao. To Gu Jiao, she liked Xuan Ningxiang as a family member. To her, she liked Xuan Ningxiang as a master. To put it bluntly, she felt that Xuan Ningxiang was a good guest and was suitable to visit often. When the matriarch said this, the two finally remembered that they had forgotten about Xuan Ningxiang and her letter. A trace of awkwardness flashed past their faces. They didn't know what kind of feelings Xuan Ningxiang had when she was waiting for them in the living room an hour later. Gu Jiao brought Xuan Ningxiang's letter, the Spring Festival couplets personally written by Xiao Lulang, and a plate of sesame candy and chestnut cakes to Xuan Ningxiang's home. Why are there so many? Xuan Ningxiang was stunned. Of course, Gu Jiao wouldn't say that she was here to apologize. She said in a serious tone, "It's almost the new year. Great aunt asked me to bring these over. The Spring Festival couplets are for you. The chestnut cakes and sesame candy are for your mother-in-law and son." Xuan Ningxiang hurriedly thanked her. Just now, Gu Jiao hesitated for a moment, but still decided to explain. Unexpectedly, Xuan Ningxiang smiled mischievously and gave her a look that said, "I understand." Gu Jiao, what do you understand? You understand. Xuan Ningxiang was experienced. Her daughter-in-law went into her husband's room and didn't come out for a long time. What could she be doing? How could she be angry over such a thing? The reason why she left quietly was to avoid seeing or hearing things that she shouldn't see or hear. That's right. She whispered to Gu Jiao, "Remember to close the door next time. Great aunt is still at home." Gu Jiao, I think you've misunderstood something. Xuan Ningxiang's brother-in-law said in the letter that he made a small contribution at the border and was promoted to a sergeant. He also received 10 taels of silver as a reward. He sent the reward back to Xuan Ningxiang. He asked Xuan Ningxiang to take care of her mother-in-law and son and not treat himself badly. He would earn a lot of money in the future, so she shouldn't be stingy. This brother-in-law was a good person. Gu Jiao asked Xuan Ningxiang if she wanted to reply to the letter. Xuan Ningxiang shook her head. Everyone went back to celebrate the new year. There was no one at the relay station. Even if she wrote the letter, she wouldn't be able to send it out. Gu Jiao gave the letter to Xuan Ningxiang and went home. Xuan Ningxiang accepted the food and only asked for a set of Spring Festival couplets. The reason was that they were too expensive. Gu Jiao said that the couplets weren't bought outside. They were written by Xiao Lulang himself. She then said, "Paper is expensive." Feng Lin gave them a lot of paper. Gu Jiao didn't care about the price. After she asked Xiao Lulang, she found out that the paper used to write Spring Festival couplets was several times more expensive than normal paper. It's not this expensive usually. After the new year, the price will increase. Xiao Lulang explained. Then is Feng Lin's family very well off? Gu Jiao asked. Xiao Lulang thought for a while and shook his head. I didn't ask, but I don't think it's too good. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with inner content that can't be found on the internet can be found here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_89642826708054550. HTML Genius remembered this website's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikaj Mobile Reading Website zhhbqg.com. Chapter 42. The latest chapter of the book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Feng Lin's family background was only slightly better than Xiao Liulang's in the past, but it really couldn't be considered very good. This could be seen from his daily food and clothing. However, he had always been unconditionally generous towards Xiao Liulang. For example, the red paper this time cost dozens of copper coins. A dozen of them would cost almost half a tael of silver. He usually ate salted vegetables and steamed buns in the academy. In the evening, snow fell from the sky again. Feng Lin stayed in the academy alone. He was reading in the dormitory. One oil lamp was not bright enough, but he didn't want to light a second one. A cold wind blew through the crack in the door, making him shiver. He didn't burn charcoal. First, the academy didn't allow him to do so. Second, he didn't want to burn it. There were 4 people living in the dormitory. Usually, his classmates were all here, so he didn't feel so cold. Now he was all alone and felt that all the cold wind was pouring into his stomach. This was his first year in a foreign land. He missed his parents and his sisters, but he couldn't go back. It was true that he could save a few taels of silver for travel expenses. Of course, more importantly, he had to spend all his time on studying. He didn't want to waste a single day. His family had only one son for 3 generations. In his generation, they didn't have a second son. In order to support his studies, one of his sisters married a widower as his second wife, and the other married a tea merchant who was over 50 years old. They gave up their whole lives for him. He had to work hard and return home in glory. After blowing hot air on his hands, Feng Lin wrapped the quilt tighter around himself and continued to read. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. Strange. Who would be looking for him at this time? The academy was on holiday. Everyone had left. Even the teachers had gone back to celebrate the new year. He was the only one left in the empty academy. Could it be a ghost? He successfully scared himself. His face turned pale, and he wrapped the quilt tightly around himself. Who are you? It's me. A familiar girl's voice came from outside the house. Feng Lin threw off the blanket, put on his shoes, and walked over to open the door. When he saw Gu Jiao covered in snow, he thought he might as well have seen a ghost. This was a male dormitory. What was a woman doing here? Why are you here? Did something happen to Brother Xiao? Other than this, Feng Lin could not think of any other reason. Without waiting for Gu Jiao's reply, he immediately put on a cloak and said to Gu Jiao, "Where is Brother Xiao?" "At home," Gu Jiao said. Feng Lin left the room without another word. Looking at his anxious back, Gu Jiao calmly said, "There's no carriage." It was New Year's Eve, and it was dangerous, so they couldn't hire ox carts or horse carriages. Feng Lin said without thinking, "Don't you know how to walk without a carriage? Hurry up." Gu Jiao. Oh, she wasn't the one who couldn't walk. Reality proved that Feng Lin's stamina was not as good as Gu Jiao's. Along the way, Gu Jiao's face was not red, and she was not out of breath, but Feng Lin almost fell down several times. When they finally reached Gu Jiao and Xiao Liulang's house, Feng Lin felt his legs were no longer his. He used the last of his strength to open the door, and when he looked inside, he was dumbfounded by the scene inside. Xiao Liulang was sitting on a chair in the living room, watching the old lady teach Gu Xiaoshun how to cut the window flowers. His complexion was as rosy as it could be, and he didn't look sick at all. "You're back." Xiao Liulang greeted the two. "Little Feng, you're here. Come and sit." The old lady also greeted. Gu Xiaoshun had always disliked Feng Lin, but she did not roll her eyes at Feng Lin today. Feng Lin was confused, and he looked at Gu Jiao in a daze. "No, it's not Brother Xiao," Gu Jiao shrugged. "That's what you said." "I didn't say anything." Feng Lin. Why didn't he realize that this woman was so cunning? Feng Lin spent his first New Year's Eve at Gu Jiao and Xiao Liulang's house. Because he hated Gu Jiao and Gu Xiaoshan, he thought that he would feel uncomfortable, but it turned out to be unexpectedly harmonious. Gu Jiao made dumplings according to the custom of the village, and also made Osmantha's sweet rice cakes according to the custom of his and Xiao Liulang's hometown. When the taste of his hometown rushed to the tip of his tongue, he burst into tears. Ah, isn't this little evil woman a local? Why did she make the sweet rice cakes so fragrant? Feng Lin ate until tears streamed down his face. At first it was so delicious that he cried, but later it made him miss his hometown. He began to miss his sisters and his elderly parents. He wondered how they were doing in the year that he was not at home. Gu Xiaoshan saw that he cried so miserably, and for the first time, she did not choke him. She even gave her share of the sweet rice cakes to him. This was undoubtedly a lively New Year's Eve for Feng Lin and for Gu Jiao and the others. In Gu Jiao's previous life, she had spent New Year's Eve alone in the organization. After she grew up, she was no longer an experimental subject in the organization, but she had only moved from the laboratory to another room. She was still alone. Gu Xiaoshan used to spend New Year's Eve with the Gu family. There were many people in the Gu family, but no one would notice him. For example, if he ran away tonight, he was sure that no one would notice. Old Madame Gu could not remember how she spent New Year's Eve in the past, but she was happy this year. She personally put up the couplets and taught Gu Xiaoshan how to cut the window ornaments. Sure enough, he cut the window ornaments worse than her. She immediately felt better. Other than that, Jiao Jiao made an exception and let her eat 5 candied fruits. Usually, she would only eat 2. Xiao Liulang was very calm. He was never a person who showed his emotions on his face, but Gu Jiao could still feel a faint sense of sadness coming from him. It was more than usual. The few of them stayed up until midnight. There were only 3 rooms in the house, and it was not good for old Madame Gu to squeeze with others. Gu Jiao tidied up Xiao Liulang's room for Feng Lin to stay in temporarily. No matter how close Feng Lin and Xiao Liulang were, he did not know that the 2 of them had not slept together. He happily stayed in the room, including the night at the inn. This was the second time that the 2 of them slept together. Gu Jiao's bed was much more spacious than the one at the inn, and the blanket was thick enough. The lights were not turned off on New Year's Eve, and the oil lamp on the table emitted a faint light. The 2 of them lay in their respective blankets. Xiao Liulang closed his eyes, but Gu Jiao knew that he was not asleep. "Did you have a good New Year?" Gu Jiao asked softly. Without waiting for Xiao Liulang to answer, a slender hand reached into his blankets and grabbed his cold and stiff hand. "Gu Jiao, next year will be better." Digression. The hidden meaning was, I still want to spend it with you next year. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that you can't find online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/8964/_89642826/707705773. HTML Genius memorized this website's address. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 43. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Xiao Liulang hated New Year's Eve because every New Year's Eve he would dream of a boundless fire. He tried not to fall asleep, but as soon as he closed his eyes, he could deeply feel the despair in the fire. Xiao Liulang, let me say this first. We are only husband and wife in name. You can't touch me. Gu Jiao said seriously. Who wants to touch you? He turned his face away in annoyance. Gu Jiao brought a bowl of water over. Who can guarantee that? You men say one thing and another behind my back. In order to prevent you from doing bad things, I'll put a bowl of water here. If you dare to climb over in the middle of the night and spill this bowl of water, you'll be a beast. Okay, if I come over, I'll be a beast. How could he go over? He didn't have any thoughts about this woman at all. When he woke up the next day, he proudly looked at Gu Jiao, who was in a daze, as if to say, "So, I'm not interested in you, right?" Unexpectedly, Gu Jiao didn't feel happy. Instead, she slapped him. "You're worse than a beast." Xiao Lulang woke up with a whoosh. He sat up and realized that this wasn't his room. There were a few crooked Fu characters pasted on the walls, and the windows were covered with ugly window decorations. These were all the masterpieces of Old Madam and Gu Xiaoshan. Xiao Lulang finally remembered where he was. He looked to his side. Gu Jiao was sleeping on her side facing him. Her baby fat cheeks were squashed and her small lips were pouted. She had been grabbing his hand the entire night. Xiao Lulang thought of that strange beastly dream and frowned. He coldly removed Gu Jiao's hand. Gu Jiao grunted in dissatisfaction at being ignored in her sleep. She grabbed his hand again. Xiao Lulang took her hand away again, but it was useless. She still wrapped herself around him. He didn't know how many times he struggled, but in the end, he got tired and fell asleep again. The incubus didn't appear until dawn. Feng Lin stayed in Qingchuan village for 3 days. Xiao Lulang also slept with Gu Jiao on the same bed for 3 nights. Except for the first night when she grabbed his hand, she didn't do anything else. She used both her hands and feet. When Xiao Lulang woke up, he would always find that their blankets were together. When Xiao Lulang was angry, he would ask her, Did you do it on purpose?" And Gu Jiao would look at him blankly. This made Xiao Lulang Shiyi unsure who was the one who wasn't obedient in their sleep. Maybe he was the one who kidnapped her into his bed. Today was the day that Xiao Liulong's stitches were removed. In fact, Gu Jiao could also remove the stitches at home, but it would be easy to be exposed. Moreover, the matriarch had finished drinking her medicine, so it was time to get a new one. Even though the prescription was only an auxiliary treatment, it would definitely be more effective. After breakfast, Gu Jiao, Xiao Lulang, and Feng Lin sat in second Uncle Luo's ox cart and went to Huichun Hall in town. The workers had all gone back to celebrate the new year. There were only second master, shopkeeper Wang, and the old doctor who had always pretended to be a famous doctor for Xiao Lulang. The 3 of them had specially rushed over from home to see the results after the stitches were removed. Not to mention them, even Gu Jiao herself was looking forward to it. She was sure that there were no mistakes during the operation, but the specific recovery would depend on the final result. The stitches were removed by the old doctor, so he still had some medical skills. After the stitches were removed, everyone's eyes fell on Xiao Lulang. There were too many things involved in this operation. Second Master still hadn't given up on the idea of treating the young Marquis, even though he had been scolded by his own father when he returned to the capital for the new year. Shopkeeper Wang was looking forward to the success of the operation. After all, he was a person with a conscience. However, he also hoped that the operation would fail. After all, to be a person with a conscience, he had to be a person first. If he died, he would be a ghost. If he treated the young Marquis, he would really die. Xiao Lulang sat on the chair. After the stitches were removed, his legs slowly moved to the ground. The crutch was next to him, but he didn't reach out to take it. He supported himself on the chair and stood up. First, he used his uninjured left foot. When he used his right foot to take the first step, he felt the soles of his feet go soft, and his whole body fell forward. Gu Jiao quickly caught him and hugged him tightly. They were a young couple. Others didn't say anything, but Xiao Liulong's ears turned red. Gu Jiao didn't notice his strangeness. All of her attention was on his ankle. "Are you all right?" She stared at his ankle and asked. Xiao Lulang shook his head. "I'm fine." He had been injured for half a year and had been using the crutch for half a year. His right foot rarely exerted any force. Every time he exerted force, he would feel a heart-wrenching pain. Although he didn't stand still, it didn't seem to hurt anymore. Xiao Lulang took the crutch and tried to take another step to make sure that it didn't hurt anymore. He usually didn't have any expression, but this time he was a bit stunned. He didn't expect that he would be able to treat it to this extent. He thought that he would be limping for the rest of his life and be in pain. "Brother Xiao, have you recovered or not?" Feng Linjian anxiously asked. "I don't feel pain anymore. I just don't have any strength," Xiao Lulang said. Feng Lin couldn't help but ask, Then is it really healed? Why do you have no strength?" The old doctor slowly said, "Young Master Feng, don't worry. Young Master Xiao doesn't feel pain anymore. This means that the operation was very successful. But after all, he was injured for too long. His blood and qi are stagnant, his muscles and bones are weak, and his ankle is stiff. He still needs to be carefully nursed and trained hard. Can he recover to his original state?" Feng Lin asked worriedly. The old doctor glanced at Gu Jiao and smiled. "As long as young Master Xiao is not afraid of the hardship." Digression, Jiao Jiao. "Husband, you can definitely do it." Lulang. "Yes, if you can learn how to write, I can learn how to walk." Jiao Jiao, who didn't want to write at all. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642826/707-35532. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 44. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. The success of the operation gave the second boss great encouragement. He decided to talk to Gu Jiao about receiving patients. At that time, Gu Jiao promised to receive patients once a month. Since Gu Jiao came to Huichun Hall, it had been exactly a month. He felt that he could arrange the schedule. Of course, because of the importance of this matter, he decided that some information unrelated to the illness could be kept secret. For example, if he couldn't be cured, he would be beheaded. However, before he could say who the other party was, he was rejected by Gu Jiao. Why? The second boss's face was full of astonishment. Gu Jiao said without hesitation, "It's too far. I don't make house calls. Tell him that if he wants to be treated, let him come to Huichun Hall himself." The second boss was confused. She could even invite an imperial physician to her residence. How could she lower herself to come to a small town's medical hall? The second boss smiled embarrassedly. "It's not far. It's in the hot spring villa near Qingchuan town." Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows. "It's already out of the town. Isn't it far?" The second boss was speechless. The second boss often felt that Gu Jiao was too capable. She really didn't seem like a village woman. However, at this moment, she felt that the hot spring villa 20 miles away was too far. Her ability showed that she was a village woman who had never traveled far. The second boss looked at Gu Jiao with some grievance. "We agreed to receive patients once a month." Gu Jiao spread her hands and said, "Yes, it's only once, but not once." The second boss was finally defeated by Gu Jiao's various reasons. To put it bluntly, he didn't want to fall out with Gu Jiao. He didn't want to fall out with her in the past, but now that he had seen her medical skills, he was even more unwilling to fall out with her. "Miss Gu, if you don't agree, then so be it. At the very least, you've saved the lives of our rejuvenation hall." Shopkeeper Wang secretly heaved a sigh of relief when he heard Gu Jiao's rejection. The second boss was at his wit's end. "What do you know? I've already sent out the invitation. Shopkeeper Wang jumped up in shock. Boss, what did you say? The second boss coughed lightly and said, aren't I thinking that she can definitely cure young Master Xiao? So I sent a visiting card in advance. The entire Zhao country knew that the young master of Marquis Ding and Fu was sick. Even if the consequences were severe, with a large sum of money, there would be brave men. There were still many doctors lining up to treat the young master. If they handed in the invitation now, the young master might not even be alive by the time it was their turn. Shopkeeper Wang simply didn't know what to say to his second boss. It's fine if you don't go. The second boss curled his lips and said. Gu Jiao was completely unaware of the conversation between the second boss and Shopkeeper Wang. She went to the main hall to grab some medicine. In order to not let people see that she was grabbing medicine to treat leprosy, she added a few extra ingredients. It just so happened that she could make some golden sore medicine at home. Feng Lin returned to the academy. Gu Jiao and Xiao Lulang sat in second Uncle Luo's ox cart and returned to the village. Although Xiao Lulang did not feel any pain, his right leg had not recovered its strength. For the time being, he could not let go of his crutches. He used the crutches to walk back with Gu Jiao. In the distance, he saw a horse carriage stop in front of their house. The emblem on the horse carriage was somewhat familiar. The horse carriage had clearly just arrived. The driver lifted the curtain and helped a middle-aged man with an extraordinary bearing down. Excuse me, is this Xiao Liulang's house? The middle-aged man politely asked from outside the door. I am. Xiao Lulang said indifferently. The middle-aged man turned around and saw Xiao Lulang and Gu Jiao. He revealed a gentle smile. I am the steward of Tianxiang Academy. My surname is Lu. The headmaster and my master asked me to send some things over. If the Gu family was here, they would definitely recognize him as the man who had delivered Gu Xiaoshuan's admission papers. He took out a letter from his bag and handed it to Xiao Lulang. This is from the headmaster. He then took out a brocade box and handed it to Gu Jiao. This is from my master to young Master Gu. When they heard that Gu Xiaoshuan also had a part in it, the two of them guessed who the master he was talking about was. Xiao Lulang took the letter and Gu Jiao took the brocade box. Gu Jiao said, Steward Lu, please come in and have a seat. Steward Lu smiled. No, I still have matters to attend to. I will leave first. At this time, Great Aunt called for Xiao Lulang from inside. Xiao Lulang supported himself with his walking stick as he entered the room. Steward Lu took out a brocade pouch from his chest and handed it to Gu Jiao. This is from my master to Mississippi. Why is he giving it to me? Gu Jiao asked. Steward Lu smiled but did not say anything. He turned around and entered the carriage. Gu Jiao returned to the room and looked at the things the old man had sent. He had given Gu Xiaoshuan a very exquisite weasel hairbrush, while he had given her a warm sheep-fat jade. She had a cold constitution. When she wore the warm jade on her body, she felt like she was wearing a mini heat pack. Even if Gu Jiao did not know much about the trade, she could still see that this was a piece of precious jade. Its value was definitely not below Gu Xiaoshuan's weasel hairbrush. Gu Jiao rubbed her chin and muttered, Oh, I thought I had fooled him. So the old grandfather already knew it was her. Gu Jiao was very satisfied with her New Year's gift. She quickly ran over to see what the principal had given Xiao Lulang. In the end, she saw Xiao Lulang sitting in a chair with a dark expression. He looked like he wanted to tear something apart. What's wrong? Gu Jiao poked her head out and asked. Xiao Lulang wanted to destroy the evidence that should not be there. However, Gu Jiao had already walked over and successfully picked up the document in his hand. What is this? It seems to have the official seal of the Yamen. Gu Jiao pointed at a word she had just learned on the document and read it out loud. Test. Is there an exam? Yes, the county exam. That hateful principal, he had actually signed him up for this month's county exam behind his back. He did not want to take the county exam at all. You signed it up? Gu Jiao asked. The principal signed it up. Xiao Lulang clenched his teeth and said. This made Gu Jiao very surprised. Did the entire class sign up? I don't think so, Xiao Lulang said. That's right, Gu Xiaoshun did not sign up. Xiao Lulang was famous for being at the bottom of the class. From the time he entered the school until the end of the year, he had never been third from the bottom in any of his exams. Even with this kind of poor results, the principal did not give up and personally signed him up for the county exam. What a great teacher! The principal's image in Gu Jiao's heart instantly grew. Husband, I think that we should pay a visit to the principal and give him some gifts. Gu Jiao's eyes sparkled. In her previous life, she had wanted to bribe the teachers, but first, no one helped her. Second, her grades were too good, so she did not need to bribe anyone. Her husband's grades were so bad. Shouldn't they hurry up and build a good relationship with the principal? I don't want to. Xiao Lulang expressed his refusal. Seeing Gu Jiao looking at him with a startled face, he turned his head away awkwardly. It's too far. Gu Jiao asked, where is it? Xiao Lulang suppressed his rebellious conscience. Near the hot spring villa. It's out of town. Gu Jiao lost her memory of the medical center for a second. It's not far, not far. It's not far at all. You stay at home and recuperate. Xiaoshun and I will go tomorrow. Digression. Second boss. I suspect that you have double standards, and I already have the evidence. The comment section has been restored. Welcome to play. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_89642826/7069250. HTML Genius remembered the website address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Bikugo mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 45. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with a deeper meaning that can't be found online are all available here. Xiao Lulang really didn't want Gu Jiao to visit that old fox, but this suggestion was unanimously approved by his family. His family was his great-aunt. Old Madame Fu said, yes, you should go visit him. Xiao Lulang gloomily hugged his blanket and returned to his room. Gu Jiao looked at him in surprise. Tonight, you're still sleeping in my place? Xiao Liulang's heart suddenly felt awkward. I went the wrong way. Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows and crossed her arms in front of her chest. You stayed in the West Room for half a year and didn't go the wrong way. After staying at my place for 3 days, you went the wrong way. Xiao Liulang's ears turned red and he said angrily, I already said that I went the wrong way. Gu Jiao calmly said, oh. Xiao Lulang. Gu Jiao did what she said, and that night, she counted the New Year's gifts that she bribed the teacher. The next day, Gu Xiaoshun came over for breakfast. When he heard that his sister was taking him to the hot spring villa to visit the director, he automatically filtered out the nearby area and the director. His mind was filled with the hot spring villa, and he was so excited that he cried out, I've grown so big. I've never been so far away. I've grown so big. My sister has never taken me out. The truth was, if Gu Jiao didn't bring him along, Xiao Lulang wouldn't allow a girl like her to go so far away alone. It was impossible to take an ox cart for such a long journey. After all, it was too slow, and they might still be wandering in the middle of the road when the sky turned dark. However, the town's carriage shops were closed, and they couldn't hire a carriage. After thinking about it again and again, Gu Jiao brought her younger brother to Huichun Hall. Faced with Gu Jiao's sudden appearance, the second master's expression was somewhat inexplicable. Does Miss Gu have any advice for me? Gu Jiao's expression did not change as she said, I've thought about it. The hot spring villa is indeed not far away. It's only an hour's ride by carriage. Let's hurry up and set off. You have a carriage, right? Yesterday, he swore that he wouldn't make house calls. Why did he change his mind in just one night? The second boss looked at the bundle in her hands with suspicion, as well as Gu Xiaoshan, who was also holding a big bundle outside the door. Why did you bring someone and so many things? Are they all used to treat illnesses? Gu Jiao shook her head with a smile. These are New Year's gifts for the director. I forgot to mention that my husband's director lives near the hot spring villa. After seeing the patients, I can pay him a visit. The second boss almost spat out a mouthful of tea. I think it's more important for you to pay a visit to the headmaster. Treating people is more convenient. You make it sound so refreshing and refined. Doesn't your conscience hurt? In the end, the second boss compromised. The second boss, Gu Jiao, Gu Xiaoshan, and the old doctor all got on the carriage. The carriage went very fast. In less than an hour, they arrived at the residence near the hot spring villa. The high plaque above the residence had the words Li Residence written on it. This should be the director's residence. It was said that the director was originally an official in the capital. However, his mother fell seriously ill, so he resigned and left the capital. He bought a residence here for his mother to live in comfort for the rest of her life. Gu Jiao and Gu Xiaoshan got off the carriage and knocked on the closed courtyard door. Not long after, a servant opened the door for them. Seeing that it was two shabbily dressed country bumpkins, the servant did not show any disdain. Instead, he politely asked, "May I ask who the two of you are?" Gu Jiao said, "My husband and my younger brother are students of Qianxiang Academy. We specially came to pay a visit to the director." Ah! The servant was stunned. "What's the matter?" An old voice came from inside the residence. The servant quickly turned his head and said, replying to the old madam, "They are the master's students." The old madam said in a somewhat confused voice, "Then why aren't you inviting them in? It's cold outside. Let them in and have a cup of hot tea." Although Gu Jiao had never seen the director, the attitude of his family members and servants made her feel very comfortable. The servant opened the courtyard door and said, "The two of you, please come in with me. The master went out to fish. If he's fast, he might be back in a while. If he's slow, he might come back when it's dark. The person just now is my family's old madam, the master's mother." The servant brought the two of them to pay a visit to old Dr. Li. However, when they came to old Madam Li's bed, she was already asleep. Old Madam Li was already very old. She was like a baby, waking up and sleeping every day without a fixed number of times. "The two of you, please come to the tea room and sit for a while. I will bring you some tea." The servant then brought Gu Jiao and Gu Xiaoshan to the tea room. He served them tea and burned charcoal. He was very considerate and did not treat them lightly because of their low status. Gu Jiao sat for a while. She guessed that the director would not come back so soon and that old Madam Li would not wake up so soon. Thus, she told the servant that she would go find the director herself. The fishing place was not too far away. The servant pointed the way for her. "I want to go too," Gu Xiaoshan said. Gu Jiao coaxed, "If the old madam wakes up and finds out that the two of us are not here, she will feel that we are neglecting her." "Oh." Gu Jiao obediently stayed. Gu Jiao left the residence and turned to board the second master's carriage. "I thought it would take a long time." The second master said, "The director is not here." Gu Jiao asked, "Where is the patient you mentioned?" Over there." The second master waved his hand and pointed. At the end of the path, there was a green mountain. The scenery at the foot of the mountain was beautiful, and the residences were arranged in picturesque disorder. This was the famous Ding, a Marquis Fu's hot spring villa. As for the other person's identity, the second master did not introduce him too much. He only said that he was the youngest son of a marquis in the capital. He was born prematurely and was born with a weak illness. After searching for so many years, he still could not find a doctor. "That young master is about the same age as you. The rumors say that he will not live past 15. The second master regretfully said. "Then doesn't that mean there is only 1 year left?" Gu Jiao was already 14 this year. "Isn't that right?" However, It is possible that he will not last until June. Is his illness really that serious? The second master sighed and nodded. That's right. The pitiful Marquis only had this one son. Although the young master had an older sister who was a boy and a girl, this could not make up for the pain of losing a son. The second master did not give Gu Jiao any information unrelated to the illness. As they spoke, the carriage arrived at the entrance of the hot spring villa. There was an enormous archway with overhanging eaves. The words Hot Spring Villa were written in large gilded characters. On the rightmost side of the words, there was a line of small cursive characters, Ding and Marquis Manor. The group got off the carriage. Gu Jiao stood under the grand archway, as small as a rabbit. The Marquis Manor's grandeur was vividly displayed, and this was only a villa under its name. The second master had passed by the villa many times, but this was his first time here. To be honest, he was also shocked by the large archway in front of him. Of course, what he did not know was that the reason Gu Jiao was staring at the archway in a daze was not because she was shocked. She was purely wondering if the gold on the archway was real. Digression. Good morning. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels to read for free. Novels that cannot be found on the internet are all here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_89642826/706518868. HTML Genius will remember this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 46. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. There were 2 guards stationed under the archway. They were different from the guards of the large families in town. They were tall and sturdy, had sharp eyes, and held spears in their hands. They were tall and straight, and it was obvious that they were well trained and disciplined. Because the invitation was sent many days in advance, the second master's name was on the list, and the guards let him in. He pointed at the old doctor and Gu Jiao and said, "Our rejuvenation hall's doctor and his medicine boy." It wasn't common for women to be medicine boys, but it wasn't unheard of. The guards didn't say anything, but they became suspicious of Gu Jiao's small basket. "What's inside?" one of the guards asked. Gu Jiao directly showed the basket to him. The guard rummaged through it and found some mounted goods and a small tattered box. He returned the basket to Gu Jiao. "Follow this road and walk straight. After you pass through the first pavilion, someone will receive you." The guard pointed the way for the 3 people. The second master cupped his hands in thanks and walked towards the pavilion with Gu Jiao and the old doctor. After walking a few steps, another carriage came out of the archway. The second master thought that it was someone from the mountain villa and didn't take it to heart. Who would have thought that he would be stopped by a voice full of energy? "Is that the one in front?" The second master stopped and turned around in surprise. He saw a fat man about the same age as shopkeeper Wang walking towards him with large strides. Behind the man was a doctor in his 50s and a medicine boy carrying a medicine box. The second master's face darkened. The man didn't seem to see his disgust. He walked forward with a smile and cupped his hands in greeting. "Uncle, what a coincidence that we met here. Did Uncle know that I would bring people to treat the young master? So you waited here for me? But who are these 2 people?" "A doctor from the return of Spring Hall," the second boss said indifferently. Both of them were doctors. The second boss didn't explain in detail, but the man took it for granted that the old doctor was the only doctor. This ugly girl with a birthmark on her face was just a little medicine boy. "Who is he?" Gu Jiao asked the second boss. The second master coldly looked at the man and said, "The steward of the Hu clan, the shopkeeper of the capitals, Hui Chun Hall. My surname is He." "Steward," he said to Gu Jiao with a smile. Gu Jiao cast a sidelong glance at him. "He as in lotus?" "The white kind." "Steward He." Somehow I felt like she was scolding me. "Let's go." The second boss was too lazy to feign civility with him. However, "Steward," he called out to him once again, and in his tone there was a hint of mockery. "So first master is also here to treat the young master's illness. I wonder if master and big boss know about this matter?" Naturally, he didn't know that if he were to inform the family of this matter, the old man would be the first to disagree. The second boss clenched his fists, and his expression became very unsightly. At this time, Gu Jiao started her lesson. Who is master? Who is big boss? The second boss took a deep breath. "Master is my father, big boss is my younger brother." Gu Jiao was puzzled. "Why is your younger brother the big boss? You're only the second boss? Are you the son of a concubine?" Not really. He was the legitimate son. He was the true eldest son of the Hu clan. However, his mother passed away early, and his father married a second wife. Not long after, his stepmother gave birth to a younger brother. His younger brother was smarter than him and was more liked by the old man. The old man gradually forgot that he was a legitimate eldest son and threw him to the return of Spring Hall in a remote town on the grounds that he was mediocre and incompetent. The Hu clan's business was almost handed over to his younger brother. His title of second boss was actually just a nice name. Shopkeeper, he was only a shopkeeper. But because he was the trusted aide of the big boss, he did not place the second boss, the head of the Hu clan, in his eyes. Ding and Marquis Manners, young master, is not one of the commoners in town. If he dies, then he dies. Don't overestimate yourself and harm the entire Hu clan. Gu Jiao looked at him and irritably said, "You like to crow so much, are you a rooster?" "Shopkeeper," he choked. Gu Jiao's group of 3 left. They passed through the pavilion and really did meet a few servants from the villa. The servants' clothes were more dignified than the masters of the large families in town. Their appearance and bearing were not ordinary. Although they were not as simple as the servants of the principal, they all followed the rules. They were scrupulous, making it impossible for people to find fault with them. Gu Jiao's group of 3 was led away by a servant. Shopkeeper, his group of 3 came over. "It's Return of Spring Hall again? How many people came from Return of Spring Hall?" The one who received Shopkeeper, he was a sharp-tongued maidservant. Don't look at how Shopkeeper, he had the support of the Hu clan and Return of Spring Hall behind him. He did not dare to be pretentious with any maidservant in the Marquis manner. Shopkeeper, he politely smiled and said, "Miss, please look carefully at this token. I am one of the people from the capital's Return of Spring Hall. Those people are from Clear Spring Town's Return of Spring Hall. They are unrelated to our capital's Return of Spring Hall and the Hu clan. In a moment, if something happens, I hope that Miss will not blame our Return of Spring Hall." "Are they not all from Return of Spring Hall?" the maidservant asked. "It's not the same, it's not the same." Shopkeeper, he smiled and said. The maidservant thought for a bit. "Is it just a coincidence that the name of your medical clinic is the same?" You can say it like that." Shopkeeper, he could not find a more suitable explanation for the time being. The maidservant nodded her head. "I know. Our Marquis manor will not implicate unrelated people." Shopkeeper, he breathed a sigh of relief. That mediocre old man could not find a good doctor. Otherwise, he would not have borrowed Dr. Zhang from the capital's Return of Spring Hall. This time, it was most likely going to be a bad thing. Fortunately, he was quick-witted and distanced himself from the old man in time. Shopkeeper, he and the other 2 people walked quickly. When Gu Jiao and the other 2 people arrived, they had also arrived. The maidservant who came with Shopkeeper, he opened the curtain and entered the main room. She whispered to the steward, "Those 3 are from the capital's Return of Spring Hall. These 3 are from the town." This meant that Gu Jiao and the other 2 people were using their reputation. The steward had seen this kind of thing many times. However, since they were already here, there was no reason to drive them out without seeing them. She said, "Let those three come first." "Okay." The maidservant responded. The young master did not eat anymore. The maidservant called in shopkeeper, he, and the other two people. The young master had been ill for many years, and many doctors had been invited. However, every doctor was ordered to keep their mouths shut after seeing him. Therefore, no one knew what illness the young master had and how serious his illness was. This shopkeeper, he brought a divine doctor who was known as Huatuo in Jiangnan. He was especially good at treating difficult and complicated diseases. Before they came, both of them were full of confidence. However, with just one look, the divine doctor was stunned. "What's wrong, divine Dr. Liao?" "Shopkeeper," he asked. Divine Dr. Liao did not answer shopkeeper he. Instead, he turned to ask the maidservant in the room, "How long has the young master been in a coma?" 10 days. The maidservant said. Divine Dr. Liao's face turned pale. He braced himself and took the young master's pulse. Then, he staggered and stood up. "Forgive me for my shallow medical skills. I am unable to treat the young master. Your residents, please find someone better." What he really wanted to say was that the young master was suffering from a heart disease. This illness was incurable, and he had been in a coma for 10 days. Even the gods could not save him. Quickly prepare for his funeral. Digression. Today was the day that Gu Jiao went online. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that could not be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/706-14340. HTML Genius remembered this website's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Bikaj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 47. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are read for free. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Divine Dr. Liao ran out as soon as he finished speaking. He was afraid that if he didn't leave now, he wouldn't be able to leave anymore. Once little young master died, he would be the one who killed him. AI. Divine Dr. Liao. Divine Dr. Liao. Steward, he didn't expect that the divine doctor that big boss spent a lot of money to hire would be so disappointing and run away without even treating him. But he also understood why divine Dr. Liao would run away. That little young master's condition was really too bad. He wasn't a doctor, but he could tell that little young master was dying. No wonder he heard that Marchioness used her knees to climb up the mountain before the new year, kowtowing every step to pray for her son's blessings. This was indeed not something that could be salvaged by human strength. Steward, he chased after him. That little medicine boy also ran away quickly with his master, and Steward, he didn't even manage to catch up to them. Second boss saw the three of them leaving in a hurry, and he had an ominous guess. Seeing that Gu Jiao was about to head in, he suddenly grabbed onto Gu Jiao's wrist. I suddenly remembered that I still have some matters to attend to at Rejuvenation Hall. Gu Jiao, oh, then you go back and settle it. Second boss, you go back with me. Second boss wanted Gu Jiao to treat little young master, but that was built on the premise that Gu Jiao was able to cure him. But Steward he and the other two's actions made him waver. Behind Steward, he was his younger brother, and he was clear of his younger brother's ability. The person who was invited must be a local divine doctor. Once the divine doctor went in, he left, which meant that little young master was indeed incurable. There might be thousands of medical treatments, but only one method was enough to determine death. He couldn't cheat Gu Jiao. If Gu Jiao went in now, little young master might just die in front of her. In that case, she wouldn't be able to escape unscathed. Gu Jiao, of course, understood his meaning. She had been a doctor in her past life, but that was just a cover for her identity. She wasn't a good person, so she wouldn't gamble with her life. All right, let's go. Gu Jiao nodded. Just as Gu Jiao turned around, her heart skipped a beat. Young master. A maid's scream came from inside the room. The young master started to twitch on the bed. Gu Jiao suddenly felt uncomfortable. She was absolutely certain that she was not sick, so this feeling of panic was simply inexplicable. Do you think I have such medical ethics? If I leave the patient alone, will my conscience be so uneasy that it hurts my heart? He was in pain, and so was she. How strange. In the end, Gu Jiao walked in. There was an imperial physician in the manor, and he was currently in the pharmacy preparing medicine for the young master. He was not in the young master's room, so the servants hurriedly went to invite him over. In the chaos, no one cared whether Gu Jiao had entered the room or not. When Gu Jiao came to the bed, his heart had stopped beating. Gu Jiao's expression became serious. Without saying anything, she stepped onto the bed and knelt by the young master's side. She pressed her hands on his chest and began to perform emergency cardiac resuscitation. And Gu, the second master, entered the room and was stunned by the scene in front of him. What was this girl doing to the young master? Gu Jiao did not care whether the medical kit was exposed or not. She sternly said, "Guard the door. Don't let anyone in." All right. The second master's mind was still numb, but he used his fastest speed to close the door. The old physician stayed in the room to see if there was anything he could do to help. Gu Jiao pressed for a while, but the other party did not respond. "Take out my medical kit. Light the oil lamp and candles. Light them all." The old physician quickly took out the small box from the basket on his back, but he found that he could not open it. Gu Jiao opened the medical kit, and he went to light the oil lamp and candles. Gu Jiao injected a shot of epinephrine into the young master's vein. The old physician was stunned. This girl, what kind of strange thing did she use to inject into the young master's veins? After the first shot of epinephrine, the effect was not ideal. At this time, the housekeeper and maidservant of the manor came with the imperial physician. The second master remembered Gu Jiao's instructions and took a big step forward to block their way. "Who are you?" the housekeeper grumpily asked. The person who brought Gu Jiao and the other two over was a manservant. He had already left. Only one of Yuya's maidservants recognized him. Yuya was the one who brought shopkeeper He over. Yuya pointed at him and said, "I recognize him. He is the one who impersonated the Huichun Hall in the capital." The second master said sternly, "What impersonation? We are from the Huichun Hall, but we are not the one in the capital." Yuya complained, "Look, Mama." He admitted it. The second boss was confused. "No, miss, was that what I meant?" Although the housekeeper grumpily did not misinterpret the second master's meaning, she did not think highly of the medical hall outside the capital. The reason why they were allowed to come in was because the Marchioness had nowhere else to go. "Why are you blocking the way here?" she coldly asked. The second master bolstered himself and said, "Our Huichun Hall's physician is saving your young master. If you don't want anything to happen to your young master, it's best not to go in and disturb her." "Mama, they are lying," a maidservant said. She had seen it from inside the room. The young master was already dead. "Are you sure you can save the young master?" The housekeeper's stern voice was like a knife hanging over the second master's head. A layer of cold sweat suddenly appeared on the second master's back. What a cunning mama! She put the blame on them. If something happened to the young master, it would not be because they did not take good care of him, but because the Huichun Hall did not treat him well. In fact, they had already taken good care of him. But if the young master died, someone had to take the blame and bear the anger of the Marquis and Marchioness. Who would want it to be them? The second master's legs and stomach were trembling. "Miss Gu, can you do it or not?" "No." She had already used 3 doses of epinephrine. The old physician gradually realized that something was wrong. Even if he did not know where this strange injection came from, he knew that it must be used to prolong the young master's life. "Miss Gu, give up. I'll try again." Gu Jiao counted the time and injected the 4th injection into the young master's body. It had already been 4 times. If this injection did not work, she could not save the young master. The people outside the door could not wait any longer. Every minute and second was torture for them. The second master's cold sweat dripped to the ground. The housekeeper grumpily said, "Break the door open." 2 strong maidservants came forward and pushed the second master aside. They lifted their feet and were about to kick the door. Suddenly, the maidservant named Yuya said, "Mama, listen." The housekeeper made a gesture and the crowd instantly quieted down. "It's so noisy." It was the young master's voice. It was very small and weak. They had not heard the young master's voice for 10 days. They really thought that the young master was going to pass away, but just now, you all heard it, right? The housekeeper grumpily felt so nervous for the first time. Everyone nodded. Although it was very weak, they did hear it. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated more quickly. Millions of novels can be read for free. There are all the novels that can't be found on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/705754446. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikaj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 48. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that can't be found online are available here. Soon, the door was opened from the inside. The room was quiet, and the originally lit candles were extinguished one by one. The room was a little dark. The old doctor fell to the ground weakly, as if he had died. To be honest, he wasn't the one who saved the person. He only helped to carry the box and light a few oil lamps and candles. However, he was the only one who witnessed Gu Jiao dragging the person back from the palace of the King of Hell. The process was so thrilling that he had never encountered it before, and he would never encounter it again. The nanny in charge asked the servant girls to help him up, and she walked to the bed with small steps. In the end, she saw a little girl dressed like a village girl sitting on the edge of her young master's bed. This was the young master's bed. Where did this wild girl come from? How dare she dirty the young master's bed? The nanny in charge opened her mouth to scold her, but she was surprised to find that it wasn't the other party who was lying on the young master's bed, but the young master, who was holding the girl's hand. The nanny in charge was the Marchioness's concubine. She had watched the young master grow up, and she was very clear about the young master's character. He was arrogant, unapproachable, and did not get close to others. He had never even held his own mother or sister's hand. The nanny in charge suspected that she had misjudged, so she went forward to take a look. She was sure that the girl was not playing tricks, and that the young master was really holding her hand. He was holding it so tightly that the back of the girl's hand was red. It was rare that the girl didn't get rid of the pain. The young master fell asleep again, but his breathing and complexion were completely different from when he was unconscious, so the nanny in charge could see that he was getting better. How could it be just now he? The little girl, who followed widened her eyes. "Shut up." The nanny in charge stopped her. It was the new year. If she dared to say that the young master was not breathing, she would tear her mouth apart. "Cough, cough, this is my medicine boy," the old doctor explained. It turned out that he was the medicine boy of Huichun Hall. The nanny in charge looked more polite and asked softly, "Did my young master wake up just now?" "Yeah." Gu Jiao nodded and turned to look at her. She woke up for a while, took her medicine, and went back to sleep. As Gu Jiao turned her face around, the supervisor nanny saw clearly that there was a huge birthmark on the left side of her face. She thought that Gu Jiao was a little beauty. What a pity. She had originally thought that if the young master really took a liking to this girl, it wouldn't be impossible for him to keep her in his room as his personal woman. The young master's brows were relaxed, and he seemed to have slept well. The nanny in charge could not remember when the young master had last had a good night's sleep. He was always out of breath while sleeping, or he would have night sweats, colic, and palpitations. The nanny in charge did not dare to disturb them and stood silently at the side. Gu Jiao had been busy trying to save him and hadn't had time to look at his appearance. Now that she had a closer look, she realized that he was unbelievably good-looking. What kind of peerless beauty was this? He was so beautiful that it was against the rules. Okay, since you're so beautiful, I'll allow you to hold my hand. The floor of the room was heated, so the heat dissipated evenly. It was not dry, and it was warm and comfortable. Gu Jiao felt sleepy, and her head started to peck like a chicken. After countless pecks, she fell down with a thud. The old doctor and the nanny in charge were shocked to see that Gu Jiao had fallen asleep next to the young master's pillow. The two of them were frightened, and the old doctor could not even make a sound. The nanny in charge's mouth twitched. Holding your hand is giving you face. Who allowed you to fall asleep next to the young master's pillow? You're taking advantage of me. The nanny in charge did not care if she would wake the young master up. She walked over quickly and was about to pull Gu Jiao up. However, the moment she reached out, the young master, who was sleeping soundly, seemed to have sensed something and woke up with a swoosh. He was thin, and his skin was thinner than ordinary people. Light blue veins could be faintly seen under his skin. He looked at the nanny in charge coldly. The nanny in charge was so frightened by that look that she trembled and staggered a few steps. The young master of the Lord Protector's manor was famous for not being easy to deal with. Not only was his temper bad, he was also unreasonable. Because he was seriously ill, no one dared to do anything to him. None of the maids in his room could work for a full month. They were either chased away or scared away by him. The nanny in charge was the Marchioness's confidant. Otherwise, she would have been chased away by him many times. The nanny in charge did not dare to be tough with him. She smiled and said softly, "Young." The young master said, "Get lost." The nanny in charge said, "Yes." The nanny in charge quickly went out. The old doctor was at a loss. That should I go out? No one cared about him. Too pitiful. The young master looked at the person sleeping soundly beside his pillow. Her face was facing his direction. Half of her face was squashed, and her small lips were pouted. She looked rather cute. What was exposed was the left side of her face with a birthmark. The young master hated anything with flaws, and refused to let anyone get close to him. Only this time was an exception. He did not think that she was ugly at all. He looked at her sleeping face and listened to her breathing close to him. A sudden feeling of wanting to get close to her rose in his heart. Ordinary people might have some misgivings, but the young master was not an ordinary person. He had been living a life waiting for death since he was born. How could such a person care about the rules of the world? He felt comfortable being close to her, so he really did it. The young master leaned closer to her, but did not let go of her hand. Instead, he raised his other hand weakly and adjusted his blanket for her. Then he leaned against her and fell asleep peacefully. When the young master woke up, Gu Jiao was no longer around. He angrily tore up several antique paintings from the previous dynasty that his father had treasured. After leaving the manor, the second master asked about the young master's condition. Gu Jiao did not answer, but asked first, "What did the imperial physician say?" The second master did not stay idle outside, and asked the imperial physician about the situation. The imperial physician was quite generous, and told the second master everything he knew. He said that his heart is not strong enough, and his blood is clotted. It's a heart disease. "Dr. Li, what do you think?" Gu Jiao asked. Shi took the young master's pulse while he was sleeping. He said thoughtfully, "It should be a heart disease." Gu Jiao was silent. Actually, her diagnosis was similar to theirs. In the words of her previous life, he had a congenital heart disease. This disease was too difficult to treat in the ancient times. Medicine alone was not enough. He needed surgery. This surgery was much more complicated than Xiao Liulong's surgery. She did not have the necessary conditions for the surgery at the moment. "Miss Gu, can it be treated?" the second master asked. Gu Jiao thought for a moment, then said, "I left him some medicine. Let's treat him conservatively for now." Digression. It was purely a coincidence that both families had the surname Gu. There was no trace of a relationship. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/7053690. HTML Genius memorized this website's address. www.zhbqg.com Biku Go mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 49. Please scan the QR code below to download the app for more exciting content. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels can be read for free. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet can be found here. After Shopkeeper, he escaped from the manor. He didn't leave immediately. Instead, he waited for the manor to make a move. The young master didn't seem to be able to make it. He didn't know if the old master would run into him. If the young master really died in his hands, there would be no place for the old master in the Hu family. Shopkeeper, he was secretly delighted when he saw Gu Jiao and the other two come out of the manor safe and sound. He was stunned. What happened? The young master didn't die? Or were they the same as them? Did they run away without any treatment? But looking at their calm appearance, it didn't seem like it. While Shopkeeper, he was stunned. Gu Jiao and the other two got on the carriage and went to Dean Li's residence. The maid called Yuya chased after them. "Oh, Hui Chun Hall. Wait." However, the carriage was already far away and her shouts couldn't be heard. Yuya held the pillar of the memorial arch and gasped for breath. Shopkeeper, he walked out from behind the big tree in a daze. He came to her and asked, "Miss, did something happen to the three of them?" Yuya said, "What can happen to them? It's my young master." Shopkeeper, his eyes lit up. Was the young master really dead because of their treatment? Yuya gasped for breath and continued, "My young master woke up and threw a big tantrum." Shopkeeper, he understood every word, but he didn't understand when they were put together. It's the young master's illness. Hui Chun Hall really has a divine doctor. My young master woke up. He still has the strength to throw a tantrum. Yuya was overjoyed. Her young master tore 4 of Master Ho's antique paintings in one breath. He hadn't been so powerful for a whole year. Shopkeeper, he couldn't keep up with the other party's thoughts. Yuya sighed and blamed herself. "It's all our fault. We were too happy and forgot to pay them." "Wait, you mean they—" Shopkeeper, he didn't dare to finish his sentence. It was impossible. Unexpectedly, Yuya nodded vigorously. Yes. They're the ones who woke up my young master." This was like a blind cat running into a dead mouse. Shopkeeper, he couldn't believe that a doctor from a small town could have such brilliant medical skills. However, that didn't stop him from taking the credit for it. "That's right, our rejuvenation hall is a magical hand that can bring people back to life." "What does that have to do with you?" Yuya rolled her eyes at him. Shopkeeper, he smiled embarrassedly. "That person is the second boss of our rejuvenation hall, the first master of the Hu clan." Yuya mocked. "Isn't it just the same name? They are the town's rejuvenation hall, and you are the capital's rejuvenation hall." There was no relationship between the two families. They had nothing to do with the Hu clan. Did he forget what he said so quickly? Ha ha ha. The second boss had escaped death once, so how could he still remember about the consultation fee? Gu Jiao remembered, but she thought that the second boss had accepted her. When the carriage arrived at Headmaster Li's residence, Headmaster Li had just returned from fishing. He had taken off his headmaster's clothes and changed into a fisherman's clothes. He even wore a fisherman's bamboo hat and straw raincoat, making him look no different from a fisherman. Of course, if one got closer, they would still be able to feel his extraordinary temperament and style of speech. Gu Jiao and the second boss got off the carriage. You are. The headmaster had never seen Gu Jiao before, and he had never seen the second boss before. Gu Jiao politely said, Xiao Lulang is my husband. Today, I came with my younger brother to visit you. My younger brother is in the room. The headmaster's attitude immediately changed. He had always been against students visiting him, but if the other party was Xiao Lulang, the family of his future disciple, then it was a different matter. The second boss. Why do I feel that the headmaster's gaze suddenly changed when he looked at his daughter-in-law? The headmaster warmly asked, How should I address you? Gu Jiao replied, My surname is Gu. The villagers call me Jiaonyang. Actually, the villagers called her Little Fool. Gu Jiao then introduced the second boss to the headmaster. Today, they also came to the vicinity, so they gave me a lift. The headmaster was very polite and didn't ask why the other party came to the vicinity. He simply expressed his sincere gratitude to the second boss for helping his student and his family. He also invited the second boss and the others into the room to sit. This headmaster, is he the headmaster of Qianxiang Academy? When they entered the courtyard, the second boss asked Gu Jiao in a low voice. Her husband was a student of Qianxiang Academy. So wasn't his headmaster the headmaster of Qianxiang Academy? Don't tell me you only realized it now? The second boss had been nervous about treating the little Gongzi all morning, so he even forgot his own name. How could he realize this? When he realized it, he felt that things weren't simple. The headmaster's reputation in the small town might not be prominent, but in the capital, he was an existence that everyone scrambled for. He studied under the old chancellor and was the head of the 4 great scholars in the capital. The second boss was a few years younger than the headmaster, so he grew up in the headmaster's shadow. Every parent hoped that their son would grow up to be as talented as the headmaster, but unfortunately, most of them only grew up to be a rookie. The headmaster was simply the nightmare of their generation. Because of this abnormal person, how many parents felt that their sons were worthless? In terms of background, the Hu family was an aristocratic family with 100 years of history. The headmaster was a grassroots person, but in terms of influence, all the children of the Hu family added together couldn't compare to Headmaster Li. He was once a grand scholar in the cabinet. It was said that he moved here to accompany his mother to recuperate. The headmaster came to clear Springtown earlier than the second boss, so the second boss initially considered whether or not he should pay him a visit. However, when he thought of the shadow of his childhood, he quickly gave up. Of course, the main reason was that he understood that the headmaster wouldn't meet him. I heard he doesn't accept gifts. The second boss said to Gu Jiao. When the headmaster was an official, he was an honest person, so he offended many people. When he came here to open an academy, he was even more disdainful of private gifts. Gu Jiao took out the mountain goods from the basket. Headmaster, this is Liu Lang's gift to you. The headmaster hurriedly took it, as if he was afraid that someone would go back on their word. Liu Lang is very considerate. The second boss was dumbfounded. Wait, aren't you going to be polite? Does the dignified headmaster lack mountain goods? The headmaster thought, although you said you don't want it, your body is very honest. You even asked your wife to give you a gift for becoming my disciple. Under Gu Jiao's encouragement, Gu Shaoshan also gave his New Year's gift, a wooden carving he carved. He loved carving things since he was young, otherwise he wouldn't have carved his name on Gu Jiao's umbrella handle. This wooden carving was originally meant for Gu Jiao, But Gu Jiao said that it was more important to give it to the headmaster first, and that she could carve another one for herself later. Gu Xiaoshun felt that his sister's words were very reasonable, so he cupped his hands and gave the wooden carving to the headmaster. He carved Gu Jiao vivid and lifelike. Without the birthmark on her face, she was as beautiful as a fairy. But is it really okay to give your sister's carving to the headmaster? The second boss's mouth twitched. Gu Jiao's mouth also twitched. She didn't expect Gu Xiaoshun to carve this. The headmaster thought, isn't it a little inappropriate for him to put a carving of his student's wife in the room? At this moment, old Madame Li woke up. Her eyes lit up when she saw the wooden carving. Bodhisattva. Old Madame Li took Gu Jiao's wooden carving and placed it on the table reverently. She even lit 2 incense sticks. Gu Jiao, the headmaster. Everyone, the latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/8964-2_89642826/70502657. HTML Genius. Memorize the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 50. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found online are all available here. The group of people had lunch at the director's house before leaving. It was already late when they arrived in town. The second boss sent Gu Jiao and her brother back to the village in a carriage. Old Lady Li was very satisfied with the bodhisattva that Gu Xiaoshun gave her. Before leaving, she asked the director to give Gu Xiaoshun the prayer beads that she had treasured for many years. The prayer beads were made of jade and had been blessed in front of Buddha. No matter its value or significance, it was incomparable to ordinary jade. However, Gu Xiaoshun did not like this, so he gave the prayer beads to Gu Jiao. Of course, Gu Jiao would not be greedy for his things. However, if he brought them back to the Gu family, they would only be pocketed by the Gu family. Thus, she accepted them first and planned to return them to him when he got married and started a new family. "Sister, I'm going in," Gu Xiaoshun said. Gu Xiaoshun entered the Gu family's old house. Gu Jiao carried the basket and continued to walk forward. After a while, she entered the house. Xiao Lulang and the old lady were sitting in the central room eating dinner. The old lady's expression was not very good. When she saw Gu Jiao return, she showed a very warm expression for the first time. "Jiao Jiao is back." Gu Jiao nodded. There was no need to be so warm. Gu Jiao was used to the old lady's sullen face and ignoring her. She was not used to her sudden enthusiasm. "What's wrong?" Gu Jiao looked at the food on the table. It was obviously cold, but the two of them did not touch their chopsticks. The old lady pursed her lips and said bitterly, "Liu Long's cooking is terrible. He looked like a dog, but his cooking was worse than Gu Xiaoshun's." Ah! Gu Jiao did not know how to answer. She looked at the old lady and then at Xiao Lulang. She had never tasted Xiao Liulang's cooking. She did not know whether it was good or bad. However, it was understandable that old Madam disliked it. But why was he disliking it too? Didn't he always cook for himself? Xiao Lulang said nothing with a deadpan expression. Gu Jiao sighed. She remade the dishes and baked a few egg pancakes. The old lady's eyes were glowing green. Xiao Lulang was still quite serious, but Gu Jiao felt that perhaps she had seen too much of the old lady. So when she looked at Xiao Lulang again, she felt that there was a hint of lust in his eyes. Xiao Lulang did not talk much at the dinner table, but the old lady would. If Xiao Lulang did not allow her to talk, she would snort, "I'm your grand aunt." Even if he had to kneel, he still had to show his filial piety to his grandaunt. The old lady asked about the visit to the director. "Did you see the director?" "Yes, I did. He is a kind person. He has an old mother and a young servant at home." With his status as the director of Qinxiang Academy, Gu Jiao thought that his home would be very luxurious and even have a group of servants, but it was not. His house was very large, but it was also very elegant, quiet, and simple. The old lady asked, "Just 2 people?" Gu Jiao replied, 3 and a servant. Gu Jiao had the mindset of her previous life. A servant was also a person. No wife or children. The old lady asked. "His wife has passed away." Xiao Lulang suddenly spoke. He paused for a moment, then said, "She passed away when she was young, and he never remarried." Quite pitiful. The old lady did not say anything else. After dinner, Gu Jiao took out the gifts the director had given her. It was a large box of osmanthus flavored 1,000-layer pastry, and 2 fish that the director had personally caught. The old lady liked the 1,000-layer pastry very much, but Xiao Lulang did not like the 2 fish at all. His eyes were filled with disdain. Gu Jiao marinated the fish and boiled water to wash up. When she was taking off her clothes, something suddenly fell out. She picked it up and found that it was a white jade thumb ring. This jade thumb ring was of excellent quality. Its texture was warm, and its shape was like congealed fat. It was definitely not an ordinary item. Strange, why do I have this on me? She did not remember the director and old Madam Li giving her such a big treasure. She held the jade thumb ring to the tip of her nose and smelled it. There was a faint medicinal fragrance. Could it be his? Hot Spring Villa. The Marchioness finished her daily prayers and returned to the villa. She was overjoyed when she heard that her son had woken up. Halfway there, she asked about the specific process and situation. The nanny in charge told her one by one the young master's condition was not good. Fortunately, the godly doctor of Rejuvenation Hall helped and successfully woke him up. She did not dare to say that the young master was really not breathing. After all, she did not see it with her own eyes. In addition, it also saved her the trouble of the little medicine boy climbing into the bed. She only knew that the little medicine boy was very clever and served the young master very well. During the conversation, the 2 of them arrived at Gu Yan's courtyard. After Gu Yan woke up, he angrily tore a few antique paintings. After tearing them, he collapsed on the bed like a salted fish and panted. His appearance was too horrible to look at. However, the Marchioness was thankful that he could wake up. The Marchioness excitedly walked forward and sat on the edge of the bed to hold her son's hand. "Yan, you're awake?" Gu Yan said speechlessly, "I'm not awake. I'm still unconscious." The Marchioness was choked. Instead of being angry, she laughed. "Yenner has the strength to talk to Mother. You've been unconscious for so long. Do you know that Mother was scared? Fortunately, Bodhisattva protected you." "What does Bodhisattva have to do with it?" Gu Yan hummed. The Marchioness laughed. Yes. It's Yenner's luck that is great." Gu Yan said seriously, "She cured me. I know it was her. She even left me medicine." When Gu Jiao saved him, he didn't wake up. When she left him medicine, he didn't wake up either. However, he had an intuition that she was the one who did all these things. The Marchioness thought that Gu Yan was talking about him, the old madam of Huichun Hall. She hurriedly nodded. "Yan is right. It was the doctor from Huichun Hall who saved you. Mother will properly thank them." Yan, why is the jade thumb ring on your finger missing?" That jade thumb ring was Gu Yan's personal item. Although she didn't know where he got it, he always carried it with him and never allowed anyone to touch it. There was once when he couldn't find it under the quilt. He was so angry that he fainted. She took it. Gu Yan said calmly. "Who?" This time, the Marchioness didn't guess the old doctor. After all, how could a dignified divine doctor do such a thing? Gu Yan didn't answer her question. Instead, he said, "She accidentally took it." Although they had only met once, he seemed to know her very well. Even he couldn't explain why he had such a strong intuition. "Maybe it's that little girl." The nanny in charge whispered in the Marchioness's ear. The old doctor brought her here. She's quite young and doesn't know much. The Marchioness sighed. Forget it. They saved Yen. It's just a jade thumb ring. Since Yen doesn't care, it's fine to give it to her. There's no need to pursue the matter. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/8964-2_896/70470-169. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 51. The latest chapter of the book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. In the next few days, Gu Jiao didn't go out again. She stayed at home and learned to write from Xiao Lulang. She also accompanied Xiao Lulang in his rehabilitation. Xiao Lulang didn't seem to care about whether he could stand up again. Gu Jiao noticed this before the operation. She didn't know what he had experienced, but his heart was like dead ashes. He had no love and passion for life at all. Feng Lin was worried that he would have an accident during the operation, but he agreed without hesitation. This was not because he was brave and fearless, but because he didn't care whether he died or not. However, Gu Jiao would not let him die, nor would she let him be crippled. It's time to exercise. Gu Jiao tidied up the house and went to Xiao Liulang's room. She didn't treat herself as an outsider anymore. She didn't even knock when she came in. Xiao Liulang's face suddenly became ugly. It wasn't because she didn't knock when she came in. It was because he didn't want to exercise. Gu Jiao guessed that he would have such a reaction. She didn't give him a chance to refuse. She walked over and pulled him up from the chair. Not only did she enter his room, but she also pulled and pulled him. It was really inappropriate. Xiao Lulang frowned. He couldn't win against her with one leg. He was still pulled out of the room. Crutches. Xiao Lulang said. Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows. From today onwards, there are no crutches. Xiao Lulang glanced at her and said lightly, "Without crutches, I can't walk." Gu Jiao crossed her arms in front of her chest and said flirtatiously, "If you can't walk, I'll help you. I'll be your crutches." She could tell that every time he used crutches, he didn't do rehabilitation. He put all his weight on the crutches. His right foot didn't get any exercise at all. Xiao Lulang frowned. Gu Jiao smiled. "If you want a crutch, you can walk back to the house yourself. My right leg has no strength. What's going on?" He could only bounce back. Xiao Lulang decisively gave up when he thought about how he was hopping around. Just like that, the idea of Xiao Lulang using the walking stick to slack off was extinguished by Gu Jiao. He could put his weight on the crutch without any qualms, but he couldn't put his weight on Gu Jiao's soft little body because, "Husband, don't always press on me. You have to learn how to use your own strength." "That's right, that's it. Put in some more effort. I'm going to be crushed by you. How can you count on a woman like me for this?" Xiao Lulang gritted his teeth. "I'm just borrowing your strength. What kind of nonsense are you spouting? Can't you shut your mouth?" Xiao Lulang was forced to walk seriously. In the past, he could walk more than 10 rounds without panting, but now he couldn't even walk once. Gu Jiao also set a rule that he couldn't walk less than 100 steps a day. After walking 100 steps, Xiao Lulang was completely soaked. Gu Jiao took a handkerchief to wipe his sweat. "Husband, do you feel sore all over, like you were run over by a big carriage? You're so tired that you can't move. You can't even lift your fingers, and your legs can't stop shaking." Xiao Lulang was speechless. Xiao Lulang finally finished his torture for the day. Next, it was his turn to torture Gu Jiao. "Have you practiced your calligraphy today?" he asked seriously. Gu Jiao, who was gloating just a second ago, suddenly froze. Xiao Lulang found a little pleasure in taking revenge. He narrowed his eyes and said, "You make me walk so many steps every day, but you don't practice a single word. Including yesterday, you haven't written 100 words." Gu Jiao scratched her little head in annoyance. She hated writing with a brush, especially the Zhao state characters with so many strokes. Xiao Lulang snorted and said, "If you don't write today, you'll have to write 200 words tomorrow." Gu Jiao put down the pen with a bang. "Then you'll walk 200 steps tomorrow." "Xiao Lulang, I'm not walking." Gu Jiao, "Then I won't write." Xiao Lulang, "Up to you." Gu Jiao. It didn't matter if she didn't write or not, but he had to do rehabilitation. Otherwise, he would be a little cripple for the rest of his life. Xiao Lulang didn't care if he was a cripple or not. He looked at Gu Jiao indifferently and went back to his room with a victorious expression. Xiao Lulang could tell that Gu Jiao didn't like writing. At first, she was curious about the words on the prescription, but after she tasted the boredom of practicing calligraphy, she gave up. He was sure that Gu Jiao didn't know how to write. The next day, when he opened his eyes, he saw a little person sitting cross-legged on his bed. Her arms were crossed in front of her chest, and she was fuming like a grumpy little wild cat. She had 2 huge dark circles under her eyes, and she was giving him a terrifying death stare. "What are you doing?" Xiao Lulang looked at her in shock. He didn't know how long she had been there. Had she been staring at him while he slept? Gu Jiao snorted coldly and took out a thick stack of words that she had practiced. She threw it in front of him in a domineering manner. "Man, these are the words you wanted." Xiao Lulang looked at the words and then looked at her dark circles. He frowned and said, "Don't tell me you didn't sleep the whole night to write this?" How many words was that? She must be crazy. Gu Jiao was like a little beast that had finally bared its fangs. 1,000 words. Today, you have to walk 1,000 steps. Xiao Lulang, the days of chaos in the Gu family had begun. Old Madame Fu's daily entertainment was not only eating melon seeds, eating sweets, and teasing Xuanxiang, but also watching them torture and hate each other. "Jiao Jiao, Lulang is missing a step." Old Madame Fu didn't mind watching the drama unfold. Gu Jiao rushed out of the kitchen with a kitchen knife. Looking at Gu Jiao, who could chop a cow to death with a kitchen knife, Xiao Liulang's expression was sorrowful. That shy little girl who had lowered her head in the wind and snow, waiting for him to put on a cloak for her. In the end, he had misjudged her in the blink of an eye. The 15th day of the first lunar month had passed and Tianxiang Academy had started school. Xiao Lulang woke up early in the morning and packed his bundle. After so long, the academy's dormitory should have been repaired. Once he moved into the dormitory, he wouldn't be forced to walk anymore. When he was packing, Gu Jiao didn't say a word. As usual, Gu Jiao sent him to second Uncle Luo's carriage and gave him his crutches. When she left, she suddenly thought of something and smiled at him. "Ah, that's right. I've been too busy recently. There's something I almost forgot to tell you. It's inconvenient for you to practice walking in the academy. The last time I went to visit the dean, I told him that you don't have to live in the academy for a few months until you recover." Xiao Lulang, thunder from a clear sky. Not long after Gu Jiao left, Gu Shaoshan came. Gu Shaoshan sat down next to Xiao Lulang. "Brother-in-law, why did you bring a bag?" "He only brought a bag of books." Xiao Lulang didn't want to say that he was tricked by his sister, so he asked, "You don't live in the academy?" Gu Shaoshan said, "If brother-in-law doesn't live there, of course I don't live there either. I'll accompany you. If anything happens along the way, we can take care of each other." No matter what, he was the #1 village bully in the surrounding area. Protecting his brother-in-law was appropriate. Xiao Lulang held back his anger. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" "Sister didn't want me to say. She said she wanted to give you a surprise." Gu Shaoshan spread out his hands and smiled. "How is it, brother-in-law? Are you surprised? Are you surprised?" Xiao Lulang gritted his teeth. "Gu Jiao, digression Jiao Jiao, Hey. Oh, intersection. Oh, the latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/8964-2_896426/70427772. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 52. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels can be read for free. Novels with connotations that can't be found online can be found here. On the other side, Gu Dashun also came out of the Gu family's old mansion. Gu Dashun's complexion was not very good. The Gu family had a terrible New Year this year. In the past, so many people came to pay their New Year's greetings that the doorstep was almost broken. But this year, they all heard about the Yamen incident and were afraid that their reputation would be affected, resulting in the Gu family being deserted this year. The villagers did not think much of Gu Dashun. Everyone had lived in the same village for so many years, and everyone knew about Madame Lu's and Madame Zhou's morals. But Gu Dashun was a good seedling. He was different from the other children in the village since he was young. He was going to be successful in the future, but he was implicated by his mother and the second branch. The villagers all felt sorry for him, but Gu Dashun did not think so. He felt that everyone was laughing at him, and every gaze that fell on him was full of disdain and evil intentions. When he got on the ox cart, he saw Gu Xiaoshun and Xiao Lulang talking and laughing. Gu Xiaoshun used to not stick to Gu Dashun, and Gu Dashun was happy. But now he felt a kind of shame and anger from being isolated. Xiao Lulang and Gu Xiaoshun ignored Gu Dashun the whole time. Later on, the two of them entered Earth Class B together. Only when he saw the wooden sign of the class did Gu Dashun feel better. So what if they were in cahoots? In the end, it was impossible for them to be successful. The academy held an exam for the returning students. Gu Dashun wanted to get first place to wash away his shame, but he used too much strength and his mind was too tense. He did not perform as well as before and fell out of the top 10. Gu Xiaoshun was still at the bottom. He went to school to make his sister happy, not to take the exam, so he had no pressure at all. However, it wasn't as if he didn't learn anything. He liked carving, and Xiao Lulang had told him that the highest level of carving was not carving people or objects, but carving words and books. If he could inscribe the 4 books and 5 classics without missing a single word, then he would be truly amazing. Gu Xiaoshun took these words to heart. From that day onwards, he no longer dozed off in class. He sat more energetically than a fighting cock. He wanted to remember every word the headmaster taught him. He wanted to be a real sculptor. The poor student who had applied for leave before the end of the year didn't miss the exam this time and successfully squeezed into the 3rd from the bottom. Xiao Lulang got his wish and fell back to the 2nd from the bottom. However, his good days did not end there. The day after the exam, he was called to the dean's fair hall. Xiao Liulang's eyes were instantly filled with wariness as he looked at the dean, who was smiling treacherously on the chair. The dean smiled gently and said, "You don't have to be nervous. I didn't call you here today to talk about the exam. Have you received the county exam documents? The county exam is in 10 days. I promised Jianyang that I would help you review your homework when school starts and strive to help you pass the county exam. From now on, you will come to Fair Hall to study at noon. I haven't even settled the score with you for secretly signing up, and now you want to steal my lunch break." Xiao Lulang expressed 10,000 rejections. The dean said in a tone of voice, "Jianyang told me that you are already very diligent. You study until very late every day. Your brain is actually not stupid, but I don't know why you always do poorly in the exams. Maybe your study method is not right, or your mood is not high. She told me to think of a way. Not letting him live on campus, and asking the dean to give him special treatment. I didn't even know that you two talked so much during that visit. Xiao Liulang's handsome face was completely dark. How about it? Let's start now. The dean smiled and looked at Xiao Liulang. Xiao Liulang snorted and nonchalantly said, I won't be participating in the county examination. You should give up on this idea. After saying that, he leaned on his walking stick and walked away without looking back. Gu Jiao knew nothing about the academy. She was still thinking that the dean would give Xiao Liulang special treatment today. Xiao Liulang's talent was not bad, but he did not focus on his studies. Once there was a good teacher to guide him, he would definitely soar. Gu Jiao happily tidied up the house. She washed the clothes and chopped the firewood. Then she said to the old lady, Great aunt, I will go to the temple in a bit. The old lady cracked a melon seed and said, Why are you going to the temple? May the Bodhisattva bless Liulang to pass the county exam? Oh, Gu Jiao was stunned. So there was such a way. Although she believed in science, wasn't there a saying that the end of science was theology? She might as well ask the Bodhisattva to bless her husband and let him become a top student. Okay, actually she was going to buy a mountain. The new year was over, and the abbot's junior brother should have returned from his travels. Gu Jiao, for lunch, the old lady waved her hand. Xiao Shui will come and make it. You can go. The old lady did not like to eat hot food. Although Xuaningxiang's cooking was not as good as Gu Jiao's, the old lady still wanted to eat freshly made food. She did not know who had spoiled her to this temperament. Gu Jiao often felt that the old lady was an ordinary person, but occasionally the other party would reveal her habits and make her feel that she was a person above everyone else. Thinking too much, Gu Jiao rubbed her chin and carried the basket to the other side of the mountain. When she arrived at the foot of the mountain, Gu Jiao saw a luxurious carriage. She felt strange. That temple was only a small one. Why were there always noble people coming here? Gu Jiao did not take it to heart and walked towards the top of the mountain. When she reached the last few steps, the figure of a woman suddenly fell down from above. This was a mountain road, and the steps were very steep. It would be strange if she did not fall to her death. What was worse was that Gu Jiao was directly below her. Gu Jiao did not want to fall down with her. In a flash, Gu Jiao stepped to the side and reached out to grab her. That person spun in place before stabilizing herself. Then she raised her head to look at Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao also looked at her. The moment their eyes met, both of them were shocked. It's you? Gu Jiao, isn't this the madam that I met at the temple last time? Madam, isn't this the little girl who blocked the food box for me at the temple last time? The madam smiled in surprise. Miss, you saved me again. Gu Jiao asked faintly, Why is it that every time I see you, something happens to you? The madam smiled embarrassedly. Gu Jiao saw the red swelling on her forehead, and then looked at the mud on her knees. She asked, Did you knock all the way here? Yes. The madam nodded. I prayed to the Bodhisattva to protect my son. In the end, the Bodhisattva appeared, and I came to fulfill my vow. Although Gu Jiao also wanted to burn incense and ask the Bodhisattva to protect Xiao Liulang, she would not do it if she had to fall step by step. Digression. Jiao Jiao raised the flag, highlighted the key points, and wanted to take the exam. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that are not available online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/70389199. HTML Genius, memorize this website's address. www.zhbqg.com Biku Go Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com Chapter 53. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet here. Miss, are you here to see the abbot this time? If she remembered correctly, she came to see the abbot last time. Gu Jiao thought for a moment and nodded seriously. Yes. She originally planned to ask for Bodhisattva's blessing for Xiao Lulang, but Bodhisattva was so stingy that she had to kowtow to him. The madam hurriedly said, "Then go quickly. The abbot is in the temple. If you are late, he will go down the mountain again." The abbot went down the mountain a lot recently. It was said that a family in the town wanted to adopt a child in the temple. Gu Jiao looked at her as if to say, "Can you walk alone? Don't fall down again, then no one will save you." The madam understood Gu Jiao's eyes and smiled warmly. "I was tired just now and felt a little dizzy. Now I am fine. Besides, there are only a few steps left." Gu Jiao asked, "Do you feel dizzy often? Do you feel dizzy in the morning or at night? Do you feel dizzy on an empty stomach or after a full stomach?" The madam was stunned by her series of questions, but she still answered politely, "In the morning, I feel dizzy when I just get up. If I don't eat, I will feel dizzy." Gu Jiao said, "Oh," and took a piece of sesame candy from her purse. "Eat more candy." After giving the candy to the madam, Gu Jiao went to see the abbot. It was the second time that Gu Jiao came to the temple. Many young masters still remembered her. They knew that she came to buy the mountain, so they led her to the abbot's meditation room. Coincidentally, the abbot had just received a guest. The guest came out of the abbot's meditation room and passed by Gu Jiao. It was a young man in his early 30s. He looked handsome and wore luxurious clothes. This was the second pilgrim that Gu Jiao saw in the temple. "Young benefactor Gu is here, right?" The abbot's gentle voice came from the meditation room. Gu Jiao grunted and stepped into the meditation room. To Gu Jiao's surprise, there were actually a few bald little monks sitting in the meditation room. They were all about 4 or 5 years old. They looked dignified, and their eyes were naughty and clean. The same bald head and the same clothes. Gu Jiao suddenly felt that she was a little face blind. The little monks stared at Gu Jiao with their eyes wide open. Although it was the second time that Gu Jiao came to the temple, the last time the little monks didn't have time to see Gu Jiao before they were scolded and ran away by the madam servant girl. Therefore, strictly speaking, this was the first time they had met. The little monks widened their eyes in shock. After a long while, she covered her mouth with her small hands and whispered in what she thought was a very soft voice. "Wow, there's a flower on her face. Why is there hair on her face? Why didn't we? I also want to have Fafa, flower." The little monks kept saying hair, but Gu Jiao still understood that it was a flower. So, they thought that the birthmark on her face was actually a flower? "Did you draw the flower yourself?" a little monk asked. "Yes, she drew it when she was born, and it couldn't be washed off." Were they envious? Were they jealous? Gu Jiao calmly looked at the group of curious little monks. The abbot cleared his throat and said to the little monks, "You go and find Senior Brother Jingchen first." The little monks obviously didn't want to leave, but Senior Brother Jingchen's charm should be very strong. After hesitating for a while, the little monks ran out to find him. A group of little monks stepped over the threshold one by one, and the last one fell down with a thud. Gu Jiao immediately recognized him. She didn't recognize his face, but looking at his clumsy appearance, wasn't he the little wrestling boy who bumped into her thigh last time? Gu Jiao wanted to hit him again, but he quickly got up and didn't give Gu Jiao a chance to hit him. Gu Jiao regretfully pursed her lips. The abbot motioned for Gu Jiao to sit down. Gu Jiao sat down and drank a few mouthfuls of bitter tea. Thinking of the young man who came out of the meditation room, she asked the abbot, "Was that a pilgrim? Or, like me, he also came to buy the mountain?" The abbot smiled gently and said he didn't come to buy the mountain, but to adopt children. Gu Jiao showed an incredulous expression. The abbot explained, The little monks in the temple are all orphans. Sometimes, some kind-hearted people will come to adopt them. Oh. For some reason, Gu Jiao thought of the silly wrestling boy. He was so silly, no one would want him, right? After all, there were so many clever little monks competing with him. The abbot said, I mentioned the matter of buying the mountain to my junior brother. He said that if young benefactor Gu sincerely wants to buy it, the temple can sell it, but the price will be higher than before. How much was it before? Gu Jiao asked. 249 taels. The abbot said. And now? Gu Jiao asked again. 250 taels. The abbot replied. Gu Jiao's mouth twitched. I seriously suspect that your junior brother is implying me. The abbot saw Gu Jiao's indignant expression, and also felt that the price was ridiculously high. But the temple's finances have always been managed by his junior brother. How much he said was how much it was. Even the abbot had no right to interfere. The abbot said, if young benefactor Gu thinks it is expensive, you can consider other mountains. Gu Jiao asked, does your temple have other mountains? The abbot said honestly, no. Gu Jiao's mouth twitched again. Gu Jiao did not have enough money to buy a mountain, but she had not received the consultation fee for treating the young master of the hot spring villa. That visit cost a lot. She had used 3 vials of epinephrine and only had a few boxes of anti-heart failure medicine, all of which were left to the young master. She decided to ask for more consultation fee from the second boss. When Gu Jiao went down the mountain, the madam had already left and the carriage was not there. Gu Jiao did not ask where she went and went down the mountain to town. When she arrived at Huichun Hall, she found an extremely luxurious carriage parked at the entrance. Such a carriage would never be seen in town. What was wrong with today? Why was she always seeing luxurious carriages? Was this a reminder that she should buy a carriage? When shopkeeper Wang saw Gu Jiao, he was very polite and personally welcomed her in. Miss Gu, what brings you here? Sit down first, I'll make a pot of tea for you. Gu Jiao lightly said, there's no need for tea. I'm here to get the consultation fee. Huh? Shopkeeper Wang was surprised. What consultation fee? Gu Jiao looked at him and said, the consultation fee from the hot spring villa. Didn't I treat the young master of the Marquis's household? Where's the consultation fee? At the mention of this, shopkeeper Wang simply smiled. Miss Gu came at the right time. Do you see that carriage outside the door? It's from the Marquis's household. Last time the second boss was too nervous and forgot to ask for the consultation fee. I'm guessing that they're here to deliver the consultation fee. So it was the Marquis's household's carriage. No wonder it was so luxurious. The second boss is in the accounting room. Do you want to go find him? Shopkeeper Wang asked with a smile. There's no need. I'll go find him after the people from the Marquis's household settle the bill. Gu Jiao finished speaking and turned to go to the side room behind the main hall. As soon as she left, the curtain of the carriage was lifted. First, a young servant girl dressed in bright clothes jumped down. Following that, a young girl dressed in green and wearing a green veil gracefully walked down with the help of the servant girl. Digression. The misreported young miss has made an appearance. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/8964-2_89642826/70353357. HTML Genius remembers this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 54. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. The semi-transparent gauze on the curtains reached her ankles, but it still couldn't hide her graceful figure. The women in town didn't wear curtains. Only the noble ladies of the capital were so particular about it. Her hand on the servant girl's forearm was as delicate as jade, slender and beautiful. Just by looking at her hand, one could tell that it was a hand raised by a rich and powerful person. After she got off the carriage, she entered Rejuvenation Hall without stopping for a moment. However, the surrounding people were all stunned and couldn't recover their senses for a long time. For such a person to appear in this barren town, it was like a celestial maiden from the heavens descending to the mortal world. Which family's daughter is this? The Chin family? I don't think so. The Chin family's young miss doesn't have such a noble aura. Could it be the Liu family? Also not likely. The two largest families in town were the Chin family and the Liu family. One family had a government official who was married to a wealthy merchant, and their family was extremely wealthy. The other family had a county magistrate who could cover the sky with one hand in Clear Spring Town. The daughters of their families were naturally incomparably noble. Normal people didn't have a chance to see them, but for some reason, they felt that this daughter couldn't possibly be someone from town. Of course, there were people who had seen the daughters of the Chin family and Liu family. It really was like the difference between clouds and mud. The daughters of the Chin and Liu families weren't enough to carry the other shoes. When such a person entered Huichun Hall, everyone couldn't help but have a higher opinion of Huichun Hall. They had already killed someone before, yet such a noble was still willing to come. Was she stupid, or did Huichun Hall really have some ability? Is your boss here? The young girl entered the hall and asked the dumbfounded shopkeeper Wang. Shopkeeper Wang was stuttering. He had lived for most of his life, but he had never seen such a beautiful and extraordinarily noble girl. The young servant girl frowned in displeasure and scolded. My family's young miss is asking you a question? Are you here? Young miss? Could this be the Marquis's family's daughter, the young master's twin sister? Heavens! In his lifetime, he had actually seen such a powerful noble person. Shopkeeper Wang hurriedly came back to his senses. Wiping away the bean-sized beads of cold sweat, he said, Yes, this little one will go and call the owner out. The girl said indifferently, No need. Go and inform him. I'll go see him myself. I don't dare. How could he make the people of the Marquis estate wait? Since the second boss had nothing to do at the moment, Shopkeeper Wang decided to take him to the study behind the main hall. Shopkeeper Wang's guess was correct. The young girl was indeed here to pay the consultation fee. However, other than paying the consultation fee, she also gave a lot of tips. When the young master was being treated, the young girl was not present. She only heard about many things after the event, but there was no harm in letting her know what had happened. My little brother is very satisfied with that old doctor and his little medicine boy. Let them come again next time. The young girl stood up and left. The daughter of the Marquis's estate had personally come to Rejuvenation Hall to thank Rejuvenation Hall for their miraculous treatment of the young master of the Marquis's estate. It didn't mean that Rejuvenation Hall had the qualifications to make friends with the daughter of the Marquis's estate. The second boss was a smart person. He knew his own weight and also knew that he couldn't make friends with him. So he didn't try to curry favor with him in vain. He politely agreed to the young girl's request and personally sent the young girl to the door. Second boss, please return. The young girl said unhurriedly. The second boss cupped his hands and bowed. It wasn't until the young girl sat in the carriage and left that he turned around and entered Rejuvenation Hall. After the carriage had traveled for a while, the young girl suddenly looked at her waist and her expression changed slightly. Not good. My jade pendant is missing. Is it the jade pendant that the Marquis gave you? Didn't you wear it when you left today? Why is it missing? The young maidservant anxiously searched everywhere, but there was no sign of it in the carriage. The young maidservant asked, Could it be that it was left in Rejuvenation Hall? We didn't go anywhere other than Rejuvenation Hall today. The young girl nodded thoughtfully. And go look for it. The carriage turned back and stopped near Rejuvenation Hall. The young maidservant lifted her skirt and entered the main hall. When shopkeeper Wang saw her return, he couldn't help but be startled. "This young lady, why have you returned? Do you have any other orders?" The young maidservant said in a bad mood, "My family's young Miss Jade pendant is missing. Quickly have someone look for it." Hearing this, shopkeeper Wang immediately became cautious. "May I ask, what does Miss Gu's jade pendant look like? What kind of jade is it?" The young maidservant gestured. "It's this big, round-shaped, and made of mutton fat jade." Shopkeeper Wang immediately brought the workers in the main hall to look around. The young maidservant didn't stay idle and went to the second master's study room. She remembered that her family's young miss had sat there before. Perhaps she had left it there. The second master wasn't there, and she didn't wait for him to return. She went in and searched for a while, but found nothing. Following that, she searched the corridors and corridors, but still couldn't find the shadow of the jade pendant. When she passed by a side room, she noticed that the door to the side room was ajar. She hesitated for a moment, but still went in. On the table in the side room, there was a broken basket that didn't fit in. There were some mountain goods in the basket, and a small tattered chest. The young maidservant looked at the chest with disdain and suddenly found a pouch beside the chest. She opened the pouch and faintly felt that something was wrong. She poured out the contents of the pouch and scattered them all over the table. There were a few silver pieces that rolled to the ground. The young maidservant didn't pick them up. Her eyes stared at the jade pendant and the jade thumb ring that fell with the jade pendant. She muttered in a daze, "Isn't this the young Miss Jade pendant and the little Gongzi's jade thumb ring? Why are they here?" Gu Jiao's period came and she went to the toilet. When she entered the room, she saw a young girl looking through her pouch. She coldly walked into the room and looked at the mess on the table and ground. She asked, "Did you do this?" The young maidservant looked up at Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao was dressed like a village girl and had a red birthmark on her face. The young maidservant's face showed undisguised disdain. "So what if it was me? Are these things yours?" Gu Jiao crossed her arms and quietly looked at her. There was no trace of fear or guilt in her eyes. The young maidservant was a servant of the Marquis Fu. Her food and clothing were not worse than the young misses of large families. When she went out, it was unknown how many people would be afraid. A little village girl dared to look at her with that kind of gaze. The young maidservant angrily said, "Are you deaf? Didn't you hear me ask you a question?" Gu Jiao said, You." The young maidservant was angered by her attitude and said in a bad mood, "You stole my master's things and don't dare to admit it, right?" The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964226/703162111. HTML Genius. 1 second, remember this website address. www.zhbqg.com Biku Go mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 55. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. What happened? The second master and shopkeeper Wang walked over. The one who asked was the second master. The second master had just gone to the bank across the street to exchange money and had just entered the main hall when he heard from shopkeeper Wang that the Marquis family's daughter had lost something in Huichun Hall. He and shopkeeper Wang went to look for it, but unexpectedly saw this scene in the side room. This side room was specially prepared for Gu Jiao to rest in. Even though Gu Jiao didn't use it much, usually no one would break in. When they heard the servant girl say that someone has stolen our young miss things, they thought that the little thief had hidden inside. In the end, they found that there were only 2 people in the side room, the Marquis's servant girl and Miss Gu. Then, was the little thief that the servant girl was talking about Miss Gu? The little servant girl didn't recognize Gu Jiao, and seeing that the second master and shopkeeper Wang had arrived, she immediately pointed at Gu Jiao and said, "You came at the right time. It was this little thief who stole our young Miss Jade pendant. She also stole our young master's jade thumb ring." The second master was stunned. Is there a misunderstanding? She wouldn't steal anything. How could this little girl steal someone's things? She could freely go in and out of his account room, and she had never touched any of the valuable things in the room. Moreover, the little girl's eyes were magnanimous. If she really was caught stealing, how could she not have a trace of guilt? Shopkeeper Wang didn't think so. Although he didn't go to the Marquis's family that day, he heard the second master and the old doctor say that it was Miss Gu who saved the young master's life. She had the opportunity to steal the young master's jade thumb ring. In addition, the Marquis's family's daughter had just arrived at Huichun Hall today, and the jade pendant had been stolen and appeared on Gu Jiao's table. Shopkeeper Wang couldn't help but think more. The little servant girl was angry. What do you mean she wouldn't steal? Are you saying that I'm wrongly accusing her? Who does she think she is? Why would I come all the way here to malign her? These words were not pleasant to the ears, but the words were crude, but the logic was not crude. The servant girl was a servant of the Marquis Fu. Her status was more noble than many of the young misses of large families. If she wanted to frame someone, she had to find someone with the right status. Gu Jiao, this little village girl, was like an ant on the ground. Even if she was crazy, she would not go out of her way to step on her. Unless she really stole something from the Marquis estate. Are you sure you're not mistaken? There are many things in this world that are the same. The second boss still firmly believed that Gu Jiao was innocent. I'm wrong. The young maidservant was so angry that she laughed. Do you think that the ornaments used by my family's young Miss and Gongzi are some kind of trashy street item? This jade pendant was bestowed by the palace. Even if your entire Hu family were to go bankrupt, you still wouldn't be able to afford it. The second boss's face turned pale for a moment. If it was such a precious thing, it really couldn't be Gu Jiao's. But he still didn't believe that Gu Jiao would steal. You don't allow counterfeits? Maybe the thing in Miss Gu's hand was a fake. Shopkeeper Wang looked at the second boss with worry. The second boss firmly believed in Gu Jiao, and this would undoubtedly offend the Marquis estate. He didn't want anything to happen to the second boss. Just as he was considering his words and planning to persuade Gu Jiao to admit her crime and not offend the Marquis estate, Gu Jiao lightly opened her mouth. It's not fake, it's real. Listen, listen. She admitted it. The young maidservant fiercely said, "You rue." A gentle and noble voice slowly sounded from outside the door. "Young miss, you've come." The young maidservant quickly changed her expression to one of respect and bowed to the young girl. The young girl, wearing a dark-colored curtain, slowly walked in while holding the curtain's gauze and skirt. She combed through the clouds and swept the moon with a graceful bearing. She used the fragrance powder that only the noble ladies in the capital could afford. As she walked, the fragrance wafted and the entire room was filled with a pleasant fragrance. Achoo! Gu Jiao sneezed. She was allergic to this kind of fragrance powder. The young maidservant angrily glared at Gu Jiao. Not only did she not greet her young miss, she even dared to sneeze. A village girl would always be a village girl. She wouldn't be able to show her face. The young girl's tone was normal as she said, "This jade pendant can't be fake. The jade used is Kuan Mountain's mutton fat jade. In Zhao country, only the imperial family has the right to mine it. Counterfeiting an item used by the imperial family is a serious crime, not to mention that it can't be exactly the same." Oh, Gu Jiao rubbed her chin. "You, what kind of attitude is this?" The young maidservant continued to glare at her. But because the Marquis Estate's daughter was present, she wasn't as domineering as before. The young girl looked at Gu Jiao and warmly said, "You're that little medicine boy." Gu Jiao responded. She didn't ask how she guessed it. After all, it wasn't hard to guess. The young girl calmly said, "I'll give you the jade pendant and return the jade ring to me. I'll pretend this never happened." "Young miss." The young maidservant stomped her feet. Shopkeeper Wang didn't expect the situation to take such a shocking turn. The Marquis Estate's daughter was really magnanimous. She gave away such a valuable item without announcing it to the public, protecting Miss Gu's and Rejuvenation Hall's reputation. Seeing that Gu Jiao didn't speak, the young girl continued, "The jade pendant is mine. If you like it, you can take it. But the jade ring is my younger brother's. I must return it to him." Shopkeeper Wang was anxious to death on the side. Quickly agree, quickly agree." Gu Jiao expressionlessly looked at the young girl and said, "You can take the jade ring back and put down the jade pendant." She had previously suspected that the jade ring belonged to the Marquis Estate's young master. Now, her guess was confirmed. She didn't explain that the jade ring had accidentally slipped into the young girl's sleeve when she was rescuing the young master. First, she couldn't explain the rescue process. Second, this pair of master and servant wouldn't believe her. Since that was the case, why should she waste her breath? The young girl said, "You really know how to pick things. This jade ring only has a special meaning for my younger brother. Speaking of value, it's not as valuable as the jade pendant." Gu Jiao said, "I'll return the jade ring to you because it really does belong to your younger brother. The jade pendant isn't yours, so you have to return it to me." The young maidservant snorted, "If it's not my master's, could it be yours? Why don't you take a piss and look in the mirror? Can you afford to wear such a valuable jade pendant?" The young girl, "You." The second boss frowned. "Young miss, please be careful with your words. If you don't believe me, then I can't do anything about it." Gu Jiao said and stretched out her hand. "I'll say it one last time. Return the jade pendant to me." The young maidservant took a step back. "You're dreaming. This belongs to my young miss." The young girl pinched her fingers and suppressed her anger. She said to the second boss. Second boss also saw what happened today. She personally admitted that she stole. "Seeing that your Rejuvenation Hall has treated my younger brother, I won't report this to the authorities. But I hope that this kind of thing won't happen again in the future." From beginning to end, Gu Jiao only admitted one thing, that the jade ring belonged to the young master. She didn't say that she stole it. However, in the other party's mouth, it became her admitting that she stole it. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/70280308. HTML Genius remembers this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 56. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. The two sides were in a deadlock for a long time. All the workers in Huichun Hall were attracted. There were only 3 people in Huichun Hall who knew about Gu Jiao's medical skills: the second boss, Shopkeeper Wang, and the old doctor. Although the others often saw Gu Jiao come, they only thought that she was a family member of the patient. The second boss and Shopkeeper Wang were very polite to her. Everyone thought that it was because her husband was a student of Qianxiang Academy. Don't look down on any scholar. In the future, they could be a country squire, a minister, or a local official. They just didn't expect her to do such a thing. I didn't expect that such an honest person would be a thief. Yes, she stole someone's jade pendant and jade thumb ring. I knew it. Her husband didn't come today, and she didn't need to get medicine. Why did she enter Hui Chun Hall? Is she eyeing that rich young lady? She chased after her to steal things. She's not afraid of ruining her husband's reputation. Isn't that right? It's really bad luck for a scholar to have such an evil woman. Of all the people present, except for the second boss, no one believed that Gu Jiao was innocent. Wasn't it obvious? She was so poor. How could she have such a good jade pendant? Young miss, please keep the jade pendant. As the young maid spoke, she bowed and hung the jade pendant on the young lady's waist. Gu Jiao reached out to take it. How dare you? The young maid's eyes were cold. She raised her hand and slapped Gu Jiao. However, before her slap could land on Gu Jiao's face, she was slapped down by Gu Jiao. No one knew how Gu Jiao did it. By the time they reacted, the young maid was already lying on the ground with her cheeks swollen. The young lady was also stunned. Gu Jiao stretched out her small hand that was covered in scars from years of hard work. She lifted the young girl's curtains and pulled down the jade pendant hanging on her waist. Throughout the whole process, Gu Jiao held his breath and did not smell the fragrance on her body. The young girl stared at her with her almond-shaped eyes. You impudent! A country bumpkin actually dared to touch her. After Gu Jiao took back the jade pendant, she wasn't in a hurry to put it into her pouch. Instead, she took out a clean handkerchief from her bosom and wiped the jade pendant from top to bottom. The girl's breathing stopped. This country bumpkin. Was she despising her for being dirty? If Gu Jiao wanted to annoy someone, she had to do it from all angles. The young girl only felt that her chest was suddenly blocked, and she was almost unable to breathe properly. The young girl gritted her teeth and angrily shouted, "Report this to the authorities." Who wants to report to the authorities? Accompanied by a dignified and cold male voice, the dean walked over with a stern expression. Another one that wasn't to be trifled with had arrived. The servants of the return of Spring Hall all made a path for him. The dean entered the room and looked at the young girl who was fuming with anger. He then looked at the servant girl who was lying on the ground for a long time, unable to get up. His expression was normal as he walked over to Gu Jiao's side. From where he stood, one could see his position. He turned around and looked at the young girl in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. Is it this young lady who wants to report to the authorities? I don't know what happened to make this young lady so angry. His words were polite, but his tone was not. The young girl knit her brows and asked, "Who are you?" The dean said, "I am the dean of Qianxiang Academy." The young girl, "Dean Li?" "The dean, that is me." Dean Li's name was like thunder in the capital, so it was impossible for the young girl to not have heard of him. Don't look at how Dean Li was a teacher in a small town, but his influence in the capital was still there. The young girl was still polite to him. She looked at Gu Jiao and said, "She stole something from our family. Why haven't you returned it to me?" "I didn't steal it. The jade pendant is mine." Gu Jiao could ignore the young girl's opinion, but she cared about the dean's opinion. She was Xiao Liulong's wife, so she didn't want to leave a stain on the dean's heart. "What do you say about the jade thumb ring?" the young girl asked. "It accidentally fell into my sleeve. I only found it when I got home." Gu Jiao told the truth. The servant girl angrily said, "You didn't say that just now. You admitted that you stole it." See, this was why Gu Jiao wasn't willing to explain to them. It was because they wouldn't listen to her properly. "Let me see the jade pendant," Dean Li said to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao handed the jade pendant to him. Dean Li remembered that his teacher also had an identical jade pendant. He also remembered that his teacher had once given Gu Shaoshan a New Year's gift, so he roughly understood what was going on. This jade pendant was given away by his teacher. As for whether it was given to Gu Jiao herself, Gu Shaoshan, or Gu Shaoshan giving it to Gu Jiao, none of this was important. The important thing was that Gu Jiao definitely didn't steal it. His teacher had retired and didn't want anyone to know where he went, so he naturally wouldn't mention his teacher. He faintly smiled and said to the young girl, "Miss, you're mistaken. This jade pendant isn't yours. It was given to me by my teacher, and then I gave it to her husband." Her husband? The young girl looked at Gu Jiao from head to toe. Her husband is my direct disciple. Dean Li unilaterally declared his disciple's sovereignty. If that was the case, everything could be explained. Dean Li's teacher was the old chancellor of the Imperial College. Before he retired, he was highly regarded by the emperor. It wasn't strange for him to have an item from the imperial court. But the young girl still felt that it was inconceivable. Many people in the capital wanted to take Dean Li as their teacher, but they were all rejected by him. This little village girl was so poor, so she should have married a poor country boy. How could she have entered Dean Li's eyes? Just as the young girl was feeling suspicious, a waiter from the rejuvenation hall ran over panting. Found it. Achoo. Gu Jiao smelled the fragrant powder on the jade pendant and couldn't help but sneeze. The jade pendant was found in the grass, and it had the same fragrance as the young girl. Compared to Gu Jiao's jade pendant, this piece was clearly more like hers. "Is the truth out now?" Gu Jiao asked. "Even if you didn't steal the jade pendant, you still stole the jade thumb ring." The servant girl whispered. "Don't say any more, you rue." The young girl stopped her and looked at Gu Jiao with a complicated expression. She walked forward and bowed. "Sorry, I misunderstood you. Miss." The servant girl turned pale with fright. Her miss was the daughter of a marquis. How could she lower her voice to a lowly village girl? So what if she was wronged? Wouldn't it be enough to prove her innocence? Why did she have to apologize? The young girl said to the servant girl, "You should also quickly apologize to this girl." "But apologize." The young girl's tone instantly became strict. The servant girl didn't dare to disobey and apologized to Gu Jiao with a dark face. The young girl turned to the second boss and said, "I hope this matter won't affect the treatment of my younger brother." The second boss calmly looked at Gu Jiao. Seeing that she didn't object, he smiled and nodded at the young girl. "Miss Gu, what are you saying? Our Huichun Hall is benevolent. We won't delay the treatment of patients because of personal matters." "Thank you." The young girl nodded and left with the servant girl, with a bruised nose and swollen face. Dean Li looked at her back and said thoughtfully, "The Gu family? The Gu family in the capital?" The second boss sighed with emotion. Other than the Gu family in the capital, who else could raise such a precious daughter? Everyone is not a saint. How can there be no mistakes? But to be able to admit her mistake and repent in time and sincerely apologize to a lowly village girl, it was enough to show her noble character. What Dean Li didn't say was that the precious daughter's name was really Gu Jinyu. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_8964226/70246-330. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Mobile Reading Website. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 57. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with substance that cannot be found online are all available here. After Gu Jinyu left the clinic, she went straight to a tea house in town. The Marchioness had been waiting there for a long time. Gu Jinyu entered the tea house and threw herself into the Marchioness's arms like a swallow. She called her mother tenderly. The Marchioness hugged her daughter, whom she had not seen for many days. Her heart was about to melt, but she said, "How old are you? You're still burrowing into your mother's arms? You're so shameless." Gu Jinyu hugged her even tighter and said coquettishly, "No matter how old I am, I'm still your and father's daughter. How am I shameless?" How could the Marchioness despise her for being shameless? She was just coaxing her to say a few childish words to comfort her after not seeing her for so long. The Marchioness pinched the tip of her nose. "You've really been spoiled by your father." Gu Jinyu snorted. "Who told father to only have me as his precious daughter?" The Marchioness did not know whether to laugh or cry. She asked her, "Did you pay the consultation fee at Huichun Hall go smoothly?" At the mention of this, Gu Jinyu averted her gaze. The Marchioness keenly sensed her daughter's abnormality. "What's wrong? Is Huichun Hall not satisfied with the consultation fee?" The consultation fee was a big blunder. The Marchioness thought that the servant had paid, and the servant thought that the Marchioness had paid. If the Marchioness had not casually asked, they would not have known that they had been in arrears with Huichun Hall. It was also because of this that the Marchioness had planned to personally make a trip to Huichun Hall. Unexpectedly, she had just left the villa when she ran into her daughter, who had rushed over from the capital. After hearing the whole story, Gu Jinyu took on the responsibility of paying the consultation fee. But the Marchioness was not idle either. She went up the mountain to offer incense to the Bodhisattva. It's not that Huichun Hall is not satisfied with the consultation fee, but Gu Jinyu recounted everything that had happened at Huichun Hall. She did not embellish or hide anything, but her mother had taught her not to judge a book by its cover, so she did not deliberately emphasize that the village girl was ugly and had a striking red birthmark on her left cheek. Daughter was wrong. I shouldn't have been so arbitrary. She lowered her head and admitted her mistake. The Marquise said earnestly, "In this world, there will always be people of higher status than us. Your status is higher than hers, so you can look down on her. If in the future you meet someone of higher status than you, won't they look down on you too?" Although the Marquise doted on her daughter, she was not without principles. Gu Jinyu coquettishly held the Marchioness' arm. "I am the Marquise' daughter. Who would dare to belittle me?" "You." The Marquise glared at her helplessly. "But what's with younger brother's jade thumb ring?" Gu Jinyu asked. The Marchioness said, "Your brother said that she took it by accident. You know that your brother wouldn't lie." But Gu Jinyu still did not understand. "What do you mean by accidentally? How did he know that she was careless? Did he see it? This? I don't know either." The Marquise doted on her daughter and had her own principles, but when it came to her son, all of them didn't count. After all, her son was someone who lived one day less, and she couldn't bear to use rules to restrain him. Her son didn't want to talk about what happened that day, so she didn't ask. It was just a jade thumb ring. If it was gone, it was gone. As long as her son was happy, it was fine. Gu Jinyu snorted with jealousy. "I also accidentally took it last time, but he ignored me for a whole month. Am I still his biological sister?" "You." The Marquise poked her forehead and said in annoyance and amusement, "If you're not, then who is? Don't tell me that the little girl who took the jade thumb ring is?" Because of this completely impossible joke, Gu Jinyu's mood improved. She leaned into her mother's arms and stretched out her small hand. "Mother, my hand is cold." The Marquise touched the back of her hand. It was indeed a little cold. Her heart ached. She put down the candy in her hand and took an exquisite hand warmer to warm her daughter's hand. But Gu Jinyu looked at the sesame candy on the plate with a strange expression. "Mother, where did you get this? One look, and you can tell it's not clean. Be careful not to get a stomachache." The Marquise thought of that little girl, and a trace of gentleness appeared in her eyes. "A kind-hearted girl gave it to me, so I accepted it." On the other side, Gu Jiao received her consultation fee. It was a total of 20 taels. Adding the money she had, it was enough to buy that mountain. The second boss was a little worried that today's matter would make Gu Jiao unhappy. He asked embarrassedly that at the consultation next month, Gu Jiao calmly said, "I promise to see patients once a month. I won't go back on my word." After saying that, she took the money and went to the academy. The dean did not return to the academy and left first. When Gu Jiao arrived at the academy, school had already ended. Students in white uniforms came out one after another. Gu Jiao was still waiting at the entrance of the alley, but she did not see Xiao Lulang or Gu Xiaoshan. Just as Gu Jiao was guessing whether the two of them had been detained by the teacher, Xiao Lulang and Gu Xiaoshan walked over from another direction. Xiao Lulang and Gu Xiaoshan carried a pile of things in their hands. When they got closer to Gu Jiao, she realized that it was some candles and a thick stack of paper money. Gu Jiao asked, "What did you buy these things for?" Gu Xiaoshan was stunned. "Sister, did you forget? Today is the anniversary of third uncle and third aunt's death." Gu Jiao was speechless. She really forgot. The original owner remembered such an important day. Unfortunately, Gu Jiao was not the original owner, so she had forgotten this day. "Thank goodness you remembered," Gu Jiao said to Gu Xiaoshan. Gu Xiaoshan awkwardly scratched her head. "Actually, I don't remember either. It was brother-in-law." Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows as she looked at Xiao Lulang. She did not remember herself mentioning the anniversary of her parents' death. He should have heard it from the villagers. With their current fake relationship as husband and wife, it was hard for him to remember. "Gu Jiao, thank you." Xiao Lulang expressionlessly got onto the ox cart with his walking stick. He was still angry at Gu Jiao for having a secret relationship with Principal Li. He was planning on not talking to her for a day. Gu Jiao didn't know what was going on with his sudden awkwardness, but he had already helped her remember the anniversary of her parents' deaths. It definitely wasn't because of her. Gu Jiao heartlessly got onto the ox cart. Gu Jiao, who thought that their relationship was very good, deliberately chose the seat closest to him. Xiao Lulang was half dead from anger, but the person who made him angry did not have the slightest awareness that she had done something wrong. Xiao Lulang became even angrier. After the three of them returned to the village, Madame Lu directly called Gu Xiaoshan away. Gu Jiao and Xiao Lulang went to the cemetery on the other side of the field. Gu Sanlang and his wife Madame Su's graves were next to each other. Because no one had taken care of it for a long time, the grass on the grave was half a person's height. Xiao Lulang was sulking, but he still rolled up his sleeves and pulled out the grass on the grave one by one. He was very focused on pulling out the grass and did not notice that Gu Jiao behind him was staring at the grave in a daze. In the original owner's memory, Gu Sanlang was washed away by a flood. The villagers searched along the river bank for half a month before they found his body. At that time, the body was soaked and could not be seen. Madame Su only took one look and collapsed on the spot. After that, she did not have a good life. She only held on for a year before she passed away on the anniversary of Gu Jiao's father's death, leaving behind a 5-year-old daughter. They were very good parents. Compared to Gu Jiao's parents in her previous life, they were many times better. It was a pity that they passed away so early. It seems that no matter if it was her previous life or this life, she was destined to have no father or mother to love her. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhhpqg.com/89642_896428070212209. HTML Genius. 1 second. Remember this website address. www.zhhpqg.com. Biku Mobile Reading Website. zhhpqg.com. Chapter 58. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found online are all available here. After the two of them finished visiting Gu Jiao's parents' graves, they set off to go home. The two of them spent a lot of effort cleaning up the graves, so they were dirty all over. Xiao Lulang, in particular, pulled out the grass on the grave and his hands turned green. Gu Jiao knew that he loved cleanliness, so when they passed by the river, she said to him, "Go wash your hands." "Okay." Xiao Lulang responded and limped towards the river with his crutches. Gu Jiao observed his walking posture. To be honest, the surgery was very successful, and he had been working hard during this period of rehabilitation, but he still couldn't throw away his crutches. Was the rehabilitation not enough? Gu Jiao rubbed her chin. "Aren't you going to wash your hands?" Xiao Lulang turned around and asked her. Gu Jiao chuckled. "Wash. Let's wash together." It was just washing hands. Why was she so enthusiastic? It wasn't like they were taking a bath, right? After Xiao Lulang asked, he remembered that this was the river she had fallen into before. Perhaps she was afraid and didn't come over. He secretly blamed himself for talking too much. He planned to quickly wash up and leave, but Gu Jiao had already squatted down beside him. The river water was a bit cold, but the two of them weren't pampered young masters and young ladies, so they could endure it and wash up. However, the moment the two of them got up, something suddenly fell out of Gu Jiao's arms and fell into the river. My purse. Gu Jiao didn't expect this to happen. She quickly grabbed it, but it was too late. The purse was filled with a lot of silver, so it was heavy and sank in an instant. Gu Jiao didn't think and jumped into the river. Xiao Liulang's expression changed. Her diving into the water was even more unexpected than her purse falling into the water. Before Xiao Lulang could react, she had already disappeared. Xiao Lulang looked at the rippling surface of the lake and moved his feet. Of course, he could swim, but now that his leg was injured, he was not sure if he could save her. Just as Xiao Lulang clenched his fists and stared intently at the surface of the water, Gu Jiao floated to the surface with her purse in hand. "Found it. I found it." Xiao Lulang hurriedly pulled her ashore. Gu Jiao knelt on the grass, dripping water and panting. Xiao Lulang frowned as he looked at the pouch in her hand. "It's just a pouch. How much silver is it worth for you to throw away your life?" "It's not silver." Gu Jiao shook her head. She opened the pouch and poured out the things inside. She did not look at the silver and only grabbed a palm-sized brown paper bag that was sealed with wax. "Do you have a handkerchief?" She looked at Xiao Lulang. Xiao Lulang took out a clean handkerchief from his chest and gave it to her. He thought that she was going to wipe the water off her face, but unexpectedly, she used the handkerchief to carefully wipe the brown paper bag. After wiping the brown paper bag, she carefully peeled off the wax on the surface. Then she opened the brown paper bag and revealed the document with an official seal. The document was dry and intact. Gu Jiao let out a long sigh of relief. This was the document that the principal had sent to Xiao Lulang for the county exam. Xiao Lulang did not want to take the exam, so he turned around and threw it into a pile of waste paper. Gu Jiao found the document while helping him tidy up the room. She thought that he had accidentally dropped it, so she carefully kept it for him. Gu Jiao handed the document to him. "You hold it well. I'm covered in water, so don't wet the document." "Xiao Lulang, you're doing this just for this?" He would not take the exam. In this kind of weather, it was fine to wash your hands by the river, but if you really fell into the water, you wouldn't be able to handle it. Gu Jiao was shivering from a cold wind. Her wet eyes were wide open, and her little hand was stretched out in front of him. Water dripped from her sleeves, but it did not wet his document at all. Those 4 words circled around his mouth, but in the end, he did not say it. Instead, he said, "I won't be able to pass the exam anyway, so why bother?" Gu Jiao righteously said, "How do you know you won't be able to pass the exam if you haven't taken the exam? Even if you don't pass the exam this time, isn't there a next time? If you don't pass the exam next time, there will be a next time. There will be a day when you'll pass the exam." Xiao Lulang said, "If I can't pass the exam, I'll always be useless." Who said that I'm useless if I can't pass the exam? There are thousands of paths in life, and studying is only the easiest path. If you don't like it, you can do something else. Thinking of something, Gu Jiao looked at him carefully. You don't dislike studying, right? Xiao Lulang looked at the pair of eyes that were filled with anticipation. It was as if he said that he did not like it, she would be hurt. Xiao Lulang sighed softly and took the document. Are you stupid? His voice was very low and light. Gu Jiao tilted her head and looked at him. Huh? What did you say? Nothing. Xiao Lulang turned around and unbuttoned his school uniform. He turned around and bent down to put the uniform on her. Let's go home. After falling into the water, Gu Jiao fell sick. On the day of Xiao Yolang's county exam, she still had a fever. But she still woke up early and made breakfast for Xiao Lulang with her dizzy little head. She also made some dry food to take to the exam. The county exam had a total of 5 rounds. There was an exam every other day. Every day, one had to pass the exam for a whole day. The first round was called the main round. It was an exam that had to be taken. After passing, one could enter the second round. If one passed all 5 rounds, they would have the right to participate in the next month's provincial exam. After the provincial exam, there was still the college exam. After passing the college exam, one would become a scholar of Zhao country. Of course, there were different grades for scholars. The ones with the best grades were called Lin students. They were given grain by the government every month. The next was Sheng students, who were not given grain. The last was Fu students. Gu Das Hun was a genuine Lin student. Because of this, the Gu family had been proud of him for a long time. Gu Jiao felt that her husband did not need to take the exam to become a Lin student like Gu Das Hun. Being a Fu student was actually not bad. She did not have high expectations. It was fine as long as he passed the exam. It was fine if he did not pass the exam. She would support him and did not need him to take the exam. Gu Jiao sat on the ox cart. Her small body was shivering from the cold wind. She sniffled and said in a muffled voice, "Don't be nervous. We are just taking the exam casually. Just treat it as going through the motions. I already asked around. There are a total of 5 rounds. It is fine if you did not perform well in the first round. There are still 4 more rounds. I will come with you every day. Achoo, achoo, achoo." After Gu Jiao finished speaking, she sneezed 3 times in a row. Her eyes were seeing stars. Xiao Lulang looked at her deeply and did not say anything. After entering the exam hall, the examiner distributed the exam papers to each examinee. The reason why he was sitting here was because someone had almost lost their life because of the exam paper that he had thrown away. But this did not mean that he would take the exam seriously. He was going to hand in a blank paper. Achoo! The sound of an examinee sneezing came from an exam shed next door. Xiao Liulang's mind suddenly flashed with the image of someone sneezing madly on the ox cart. Her small face was flushed red from the high fever. Her eyes were blurry and unfocused. Her small body was swaying, but she refused to go back. Thinking of a certain someone dragging her sickly body to wait for him on the ox cart for an entire day, Xiao Lulang picked up his pen in irritation. Xiao Lulang did not take the exam after 1 round. The news quickly reached Gu Dashuan's ears. Generally speaking, there were only 2 situations when one took the exam. The first was if the examinee performed too well and became the head of the desk, being guaranteed entry into the capital examinations. The second was if the examinee performed too poorly and did not have the qualifications to enter the next 4 rounds. The first situation was rare. After all, no matter how well one performed in the first round, there was no guarantee that no one would be able to surpass them in the next 4 rounds. Not to mention Xiao Lulang, who was ranked at the bottom of Class B. Even if he performed at his best, he would not be able to obtain first place. Digression. Award-winning quiz come wave. How did Lulang do in the exam? A. He did too well. B. He did very poorly. P.S. Only Xiaoshan Academy's back end can give out rewards. everyone can come to Xiaoxiang Academy to leave a message. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that cannot be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896422826/70171214. HTML Genius. 1 second. Remember this website address: www.zhbqg.com. Biku Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 59. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated more quickly. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with inner content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. I heard that Lu Lang went to the county exam. At dinner, old Master Gu asked about Xiao Lu Lang. What happened to Gu Jiao before the new year? Although no one thought that Mr. Qin did it on purpose, they felt that Gu Jiao was really unlucky. Since Xiao Lu Lang married her, then Xiao Lu Lang was also unlucky. At this time, hearing Xiao Lu Lang's name, the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law were all flustered. Unfortunately, it was old Master Gu who asked, so they didn't dare to speak and just ate in the kitchen. Yes, he only took one exam. It was Gu Dashun who answered. Gu Zhanghai wondered, why only one exam? Didn't you take 5 exams that time? Gu Dashun thought for a while. Maybe he failed the exam? If he didn't pass the first exam, he wouldn't be allowed to take the rest. Gu Zhanghai, then will the exam fee be refunded? Gu Dashun, no. Gu Zhanghai picked up some pickles with his chopsticks. Tut, 2 taels of silver. If you throw it into the manure pit, it will bubble up. Old Master Gu frowned and looked at his eldest son. Gu Zhanghai was scared and shut up. The manure pit ruined everyone's appetite, except for Gu Dashun. Don't think he didn't know that it was the dean who signed Xiao Lu Lang up for this exam. The dean didn't want him, a good cadet, but had high hopes for Xiao Lu Lang, a rotten piece of wood. In the end, he could only let him down. Gu Dashun's heart was filled with the pleasure of revenge. 10 days later, the results of the county exam came out. Gu Dashun was waiting to see Xiao Lu Lang make a fool of himself, but he was directly stunned by a bolt from the blue. There were a few big words written on the big red news of the academy. County examination first place, Xiao Lu Lang. Actually, the Yamen didn't release the results so quickly. It was the headmaster who personally went to the county Yamen to ask about the results. He didn't even wait for the Yamen to release the results before he released the good news himself. It was hung in the most eye-catching position, ensuring that everyone who passed by the academy would be able to see it. The dean stood under the good news and smiled like a fool. Those who knew would say that his student had gotten first place in the county examination. Those who didn't know would think that his own son had passed the provincial examination. He even specially called Xiao Lu Lang over to the Zhongzheng Hall. I knew my painstaking efforts would not be in vain. You're really touched by me. Xiao Lu Lang looked at him expressionlessly. I just hate having so many tests. The dean said slowly, oh, then you can hand in a blank paper. Even if you hand in a blank paper, you don't have to take the rest of the exam, do you? Admit it, Lu Lang. You do love me dearly. You can't bear to disappoint me. Xiao Lu Lang was too lazy to pay attention to him. He turned around and left. The good news hadn't spread to the village yet, so Gu Jiao didn't know anything about it. She had been resting at home for a few days and had recovered from her cold. She was packing her things and was planning to go to the temple. The snacks last time were pretty good. Bring some more back. Before she left, the old lady stopped her. Gu Jiao thought for a long time before she remembered that the old lady was talking about the snacks that the madam had given her when she went to the temple for the first time. Those weren't snacks from a temple. They were brought by a pilgrim. I don't know if I'll meet her this time. Although she said that, in her heart, she felt that the probability of meeting her twice was quite high. Gu Jiao put some mountain goods in her basket and planned to exchange them for some snacks. However, she didn't meet the madam until she went up the mountain. Instead, she saw a few weird little monks. The little monks had finished their homework and were stacked behind the door like a human pyramid. They stuck their heads out, and it was unknown who they were waiting for. When Gu Jiao arrived at the top of the mountain with her basket, their eyes widened. She's here. She's here. She's here with her basket. She's here. She's here. She's here with Fafa. Wah wah. Quick-eyed. The little monks hurriedly retreated. However, there were too many little dumplings. They were all on top of each other. The ones on top couldn't get down, and the ones on the bottom couldn't get away. In the end, they could only throw themselves out and roll on the ground like little winter melons. Gu Jiao looked at the bunch of little monks who suddenly appeared in front of her. Was this a large-scale scam? Jingfan, Jingxin, Jingshan. Where did you guys go? They had tripped in front of a beautiful female patron. Did they not want to lose face? Stinky's senior brother even called them by their names. The little monks got up and wanted to run away. Gu Jiao suddenly said, "What were you guys doing just now?" The few of them stopped in their tracks. Little monk 1, we weren't looking at you. Little monk 2, yes, we weren't looking at you. Little monk 3 nodded. Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows. Why were you looking at me? Little monk 1, 2, 3, because you're pretty. Gu Jiao. Little monk 1 pointed at Gu Jiao's birthmark. Your Fafa Hua is pretty. It was funny. The children in the village all treated her as an ugly monster. They either bullied her or avoided her when they saw her. However, this group of little monks, who had never left the mountain, were deeply attracted to her birthmark more than once. Gu Jiao was successfully attracted by the little monk's cuteness. She took out a few pieces of sesame candy from her basket and gave them to them. We can't take things from female patron. Little monk 1 refused. Gu Jiao thought for a moment and said, "Don't you monks know how to beg for alms? If you come to me to beg for alms, then these pieces of sesame candy will be yours." The little monks thought about it and felt that it made sense. They immediately went back to the house to take their small alms bowls and beg for alms from Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao gave them some sesame candy. The little monks held their small alms bowls and sat on the steps to eat. Gu Jiao counted the heads of the little monks and asked, "Aren't there 4 of you? Why are there only 3 left?" Little monk 1, are you talking about Jing Kong? He's going to leave the mountain. So, the little wrestler's name was Jing Kong. Gu Jiao learned the whole story from the little monk and found out that the little wrestler was adopted by a kind-hearted rich family. The couple in that family had been married for 10 years and didn't have any children. They took the little wrestler back and raised him as their own son. He must be very sad to leave this place, right? Gu Jiao asked. The 3 little monks shook their heads in unison. Little monk E was the most active of them all. He was the spokesperson of the little monk troop. He said he's not sad at all. He wanted to leave the mountain long ago. Gu Jiao didn't understand and asked, "Why?" Little monk 1, he said he can eat meat after he leaves the mountain. Gu Jiao, what kind of little monk went astray? Gu Jiao said again, "You must be very sad, right?" The 3 little monks shook their heads again. Little monk 1, actually, he can't eat meat after he leaves the mountain. He's dizzy. He doesn't know. There are still people in this world who are dizzy with meat. Don't lie to me. Gu Jiao said, "You're not going to tell him?" Little monk 1, if we tell him, he won't leave. Gu Jiao paused and said with emotion, "You guys are quite considerate of him." Being adopted by a kind-hearted family was better than being a monk for the rest of his life. The little monk said arrogantly, "Who told him to eat so much? He ate all of our food." Gu Jiao, what kind of plastic little monks are these? However, the little wrestling boy couldn't leave the mountain in the end because the rich family suddenly stopped coming. The abbot sent someone to ask around and found out that the madam of the rich family was pregnant. She was pregnant last night. The doctor swore that it was a son. When Gu Jiao went to the abbot's meditation room, little monk was sitting on a rock at the door. There was a brand new small bag next to his hand. His little head drooped and he didn't move. His little figure looked lonely. Obviously, he already knew that he was abandoned by his adoptive family. His little body was shrouded in sadness. Gu Jiao thought for a while and walked over. She asked him, "Can I sit here for a while?" Little monk didn't say anything. He just pulled the small bag to the side. Gu Jiao then sat down next to him. Gu Jiao didn't have any resistance to good-looking things. The little monks in the temple were all very cute, but the one in front of her was especially cute. His little head was round, his eyes were big, and his eyelashes were long and black. He was simply an eyelash fairy. "Are you sad?" Gu Jiao asked. "What?" Little Jing Kong responded. He realized what Gu Jiao was asking and snorted, "I'm not sad." His voice was childish. Gu Jiao raised her eyebrows and said, "So, you don't want to go down the mountain?" Little Jing Kong crossed his arms in front of his chest. He turned his face and said arrogantly, "Yes, what's so good about going down the mountain? I heard that I'll be forced to eat meat. I don't want to break my precepts." "Oh, that's not what your group of friends said." Gu Jiao teased him. "You really don't want to go down the mountain?" Little Jing Kong said seriously, "Of course not. I won't go down the mountain for the rest of my life. I want to be a monk for the rest of my life. I want to be the abbot of the temple in the future." Gu Jiao secretly gave him a thumbs up. He was ambitious. Gu Jiao glanced at him and sighed. "Since you're so determined, then forget it. I was going to ask the abbot to let you go down the mountain with me for a few days." Little Jing Kong said with his arms akimbo, "I said I won't go down the mountain. I especially won't go down the mountain with you. You can ask me again if you don't believe me." Gu Jiao asked in a daze, "Do you want to go down the mountain with me?" Little Jing Kong grabbed his bag and said, "Yes." Gu Jiao was speechless on the spot. Digression. I only have 3 words. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/70133867. HTML Genius, memorize the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 60. Please scan the QR code below to download the app for more interesting content. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Gu Jiao had never been tricked like this in her entire life, especially when the other party was a squishy little ball. Gu Jiao felt terrible. "You said that you won't go down the mountain with me. Monks don't lie." That was Little Jing Kong just now. It has nothing to do with the Little Jing Kong now. The Little Jing Kong now agrees to go down the mountain with you. "Gu Jiao, you can do that?" Little Jing Kong ran into the room. "Abbot, someone wants to adopt me." Gu Jiao, "No, I don't think that's what I said." "Who is it?" the abbot asked kindly. Little Jing Kong raised his hand and pointed. Her. Gu Jiao, who just stepped into the meditation room, was speechless. "Oh, it's little benefactor Gu. Amit Ba." The abbot bowed to Gu Jiao with one hand. Gu Jiao cleared her throat. "Abbot, I was actually..." The abbot smiled gently. "I understand what you mean. Don't worry, I won't make things difficult for you." Gu Jiao secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the abbot was a reasonable person. The abbot said earnestly, "Jing Kong is actually my Shitty's disciple. Usually, You have to get his approval first. But I know little benefactor Gu's character. I'll make the decision for my shitty. Gu Jiao was confused. Wait, what did you make the decision for? The abbot said to little Jing Kong. Jing Kong, listen to little benefactor Gu when you go down the mountain. Okay? Little Jing Kong nodded. Okay. I know, abbot. Gu Jiao. Wait, are all of you so casual? Gu Jiao, I think you should ask the others, for example, his senior brother's opinion, Pa. A chair was moved into the room. Jing Kong, your favorite bamboo chair. Eldest senior brother is giving it to you. Don't forget eldest senior brother when you go down the mountain. Dong. A spinning top was stuffed into little Jing Kong's arms. Jing Kong, your favorite spinning top, second senior brother will give it to you. Don't forget second senior brother. After that, every senior brother sent over a parting gift. They were so fast that it was as if Gu Jiao would regret her decision if they were a step slower. The corners of Gu Jiao's mouth twitched. Little monk, how many sins have you committed? Look at how anxious your senior brothers are. Is it too late to change my words now? Gu Jiao was here to buy a mountain, but when she went down the mountain, there was a little burden behind her. The abbot grinned. Buy one, get one free. Gu Jiao, I don't feel like I've earned anything. Today was Xiao Liulong's big day. Whether he cared about it or not, he had completed a huge transformation from the bottom of Class B to the top of the county exam. If he was a top student of Class A, it wouldn't have caused such a big sensation. To put it bluntly, it was because he had taken a big step. Xiao Lulang was surrounded by people at the academy for the whole day. He heard from second Uncle Luo that the person who brought the good news had gone to the village. Presumably, the villagers all knew about it by now. Sure enough, when he walked to the door, he saw that it was surrounded by people. The villagers loved to be lively. Whenever something happened to someone's family, the whole village would come to watch. Xiao Lulang took a deep breath and prepared himself to be surrounded by the villagers. However, something unexpected happened. The villagers were blocking his way, and he couldn't enter the house. He could only pat the shoulder of the person in front of him. Auntie Zhao, I'll go in for a while. What are you doing? Auntie Zhao moved her shoulder in disgust. It's me, Lulang, he said. Auntie Zhao hurriedly glanced at him. Lulang is back. After saying that, she continued to look into the house and ignored Xiao Lulang. Xiao Lulang was a little confused. Aren't you all blocking the way here because of me? What's with this perfunctory attitude? Xiao Lulang asked a few more villagers and found that they really didn't have the time to care about him. He was puzzled. If they weren't here for him, then why were they crowding around his house? When he squeezed through the door with great effort, he was stunned by the scene in front of him. He saw that in the central room of his house, there was a little monk with 3 heads. The little monk sat obediently on a small stool next to the old lady with a cute face. The villagers were all here for the little monk. They had never seen such a small monk who was obedient and beautiful. It was too rare. Xiao Liulong's limelight of being first in the exam was stolen by a little monk. Who could they find to reason with? The villagers left one after another when the sky was completely dark. Xiao Liulong's face was very dark, especially when he saw Gu Jiao come out with a bowl of food and the little dumpling jump into Gu Jiao's arms. His face became even darker. Tell me what's going on. He looked at the old lady and Gu Jiao. The old lady was eating melon seeds. Don't look at me. I didn't bring him back. Gu Jiao paused. Would you believe me if I said that it was a gift from the mountain? Xiao Lulang, Jing Kong, go wash your hands in the backyard. I've got the water for you. After Gu Jiao sent the little Jing Kong away, she told Xiao Lulang the whole story. Of course, she didn't mention that she was tricked by the little Jing Kong. After all, it was a little embarrassing, and she would never admit it. He's too pitiful, so I brought him back. Xiao Lulang looked at Gu Jiao suspiciously. He felt that she wasn't such a kind person. Are you sure you weren't tricked? Gu Jiao's eyes widened. Absolutely not. How old is he? How could he trick me? I'm not that stupid. Xiao Lulang expressed his doubts. Gu Jiao quickly changed the topic. She looked down and touched her index finger. If you don't like it, Xiao Lulang interrupted her. No, as long as you like it. They weren't a real couple. It was her freedom to raise as many children as she wanted. He had no right to interfere. Gu Jiao went to the kitchen to get the food. Little Jing Kong washed his hands and went back to the living room. He came in front of Xiao Lulang, looked him up and down, and asked seriously, "Are you my father?" Xiao Lulang choked. "She acknowledged you as her son?" Little Jing Kong shook his head. "No, Jiao Jia said he would take after me. I'm just here to ask you, do you want to be my father or what?" Xiao Lulang said indifferently, "I don't have a son as old as you." Little Jing Kong said seriously, "I'm not old, I'm only 6 years old." Xiao Lulang chuckled, "Really? But you look only 3 years old." Little Jing Kong, who was indeed 2.5 years younger, was speechless. Little Jing Kong tilted his head and thought for a while. "So you want to be my elder brother?" Without waiting for Xiao Liulang's answer, Little Jing Kong nodded thoughtfully. "Okay, it's better than dumplings, and it's more fun than—" Xiao Liulang's body shook. "Shut up. What kind of indecent little monk is this?" The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896426/70099953. HTML Genius. Memorize the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Go mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 61. Please scan the QR code below to download the app for more interesting content. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet here. The woodcutter in the back of the mountain never said anything nice. The little monks had heard it a few times, but the 3 of them couldn't remember it. Only Little Jing Kong never forgot it. He understood it literally. After all, the dumplings were really delicious, and he really wanted to play with Jiao Jiao. "Don't say that again," Xiao Lulang said seriously. "Why?" Little Jing Kong blinked and asked. Xiao Lulang opened his mouth. "Jiao Jiao won't like it." After saying this, he glanced at the kitchen without anyone noticing. She was so far away, so she shouldn't have heard the Jiao Jiao. When Gu Jiao brought the dishes from the kitchen, the 2 men in the house had already confirmed their relationship. Xiao Lulang pointed at Gu Jiao and said, "She's your sister, your biological sister." He couldn't have any ideas about her. Besides, Gu Jiao already had a younger brother, so it didn't matter if she had one more. Little Jing Kong had already understood Gu Jiao's family relationship. He sighed like an adult. "Okay, although I'm not her unique younger brother, you're not her unique man either." He patted his small chest, indicating that he was also Jiao Jiao's man. "Xiao Lulang, little monk, you're very arrogant on your first day in the house." In order to show that he was a responsible man, Little Jing Kong even helped Gu Jiao set the table. The little monks in the temple actually had a tougher life than ordinary children. They practiced martial arts, attended classes, and worked hard. Therefore, even though he was small in stature, he was quite capable when it came to doing things. Dinner was a pot of wild mushrooms, green pepper eggs, cornflower soup, and cabbage buns. They could eat meat a long time ago, but they were too busy today, so they didn't go to town to get meat. The small monk looked at the table full of vegetarian dishes and couldn't hide his disappointment. "There's no meat?" Xiao Lulang chuckled and said, "Aren't you a monk? Monks can eat meat?" Little Jing Kong said seriously, "But I won't be a monk when I leave the mountain." Xiao Liulang's gaze fell on his little bald head. Little Jing Kong hurriedly covered his little bald head with his little hands. My hair will grow out." Xiao Lulang said seriously, "We can't afford meat." Little Jing Kong exclaimed and looked at the furnishings in the house. It was so shabby, as if they were really poor. Oh, he didn't want to eat meat anymore. He removed his little hands from his head and obediently picked up the vegetables. He was a little Jing-Kong who was not picky about food. He was easy to feed. Gu Jiao chuckled. Your brother-in-law is just teasing you. I'll give you meat tomorrow. Okay. Little Jing-Kong smiled happily. Then he thought of something and stared at Xiao Lulang with a serious face. Bad brother-in-law. Little Jing-Kong's appetite was not to be underestimated. He ate more than Gu Jiao. After dinner, Gu Jiao went to clean up the dishes. Little Jing-Kong insisted on washing his own dishes. This was a habit cultivated in the temple. In order to let them be independent, eldest senior brother washed and dressed himself. He still needed someone to help him bathe. After all, he was too small and was not even as tall as the bathtub. There was no bathtub at home, only a wooden basin. However, he was so small that he wouldn't bathe himself even if there was a basin. Gu Jiao had never bathed such a small child before, so it was strange. She took the basin to the kitchen. The kitchen had just finished cooking, so there was still some firewood left in the stove. It was warmer than the old lady's house. Moreover, there was hot water in the pot. When the basin cooled down, she could add more water. Gu Jiao went back to the house to get clothes for Little Jing-Kong. Little Jing-Kong sat on the stool obediently and waited for Gu Jiao. However, the person he waited for was not Gu Jiao, but Xiao Lulang. Compared to Xiao Lulang, who was cold and disliked him, Little Jing-Kong certainly preferred Gu Jiao, who was always kind to him and would be adorable by him from time to time. Sigh. Little Jing-Kong sighed. He was quite disappointed. Xiao Lulang. After bathing, Little Jing-Kong went to bed. There were 3 rooms in the house, so there was no extra room for him. Gu Jiao thought that since he was small, it wouldn't be a problem for him to squeeze in with others. The old lady's house was the warmest, so it was the first choice. Go and sleep with Great Aunt. Gu Jiao gave him a small pillow. Little Jing-Kong came to the old lady's house with a small pillow in his arms. He didn't go in immediately, but stood at the door and looked at her seriously. If you agree to give me half of the candied fruit that you hid, I'll sleep with you. The old lady didn't say anything and closed the door with a bang. Little Jing-Kong went back to Gu Jiao's house with a pillow in his arms. Great Aunt won't sleep with me. Thinking of the old lady's weird temper and the violent sound of the door slamming, Gu Jiao didn't suspect anything. She pulled the quilt and said, "Then you sleep with me." Okay. Little Jing-Kong smiled happily and put the pillow on the quilt. He also climbed up with his short legs. Halfway up, Xiao Lulang lifted him up. Xiao Lulang, you sleep with me. Little Jing-Kong, I don't want to sleep with you. Xiao Lulang, no you want to. Little Jing-Kong was carried back to the house by Xiao Lulang. Xiao Yolang's bed wasn't as big as Gu Jiao's bed, but it wasn't small either. There was more than enough space for one big bed and one small bed. The small bed didn't lie properly on one side. He was like a bull's-eye in the middle of the bed, sprawled out on all 4s. Xiao Lulang put down his crutches and frowned. Sleep well. Little Jing-Kong rolled around on the bed. No. Xiao Lulang said coldly, if you continue like this, I'll throw you down. I won't let you sleep. Little Jing-Kong was about to say something. Xiao Lulang said, I'll lock the door too. I won't let you go. Little Jing-Kong didn't say anything, as his escape route was blocked. Xiao Lulang raised his eyebrows and said, You'd better behave yourself. Maybe I'll consider letting you squeeze in. Little Jing-Kong was stunned for a while. Then he got up and said, I should be the one saying that to you. Jiao Jiao said that I'm also a member of this family. So I should be the one letting you squeeze in with me. Xiao Lulang could understand the first part of his words, but what did the last 2 sentences mean? He said calmly, What do you mean by letting me squeeze in? Little Jing-Kong looked at him with his hands on his waist. Because I'm also a member of this family, so I have a share of this family's room. You and Jiao Jiao are married, so you should sleep in the same room. That room is yours. This room is mine. Jiao Jiao didn't want to sleep with you. I'm the one taking you in now. Xiao Lulang, who couldn't refute, was speechless. What kind of nonsense was this? Also, could he throw this little stinky monk out? Children were people who couldn't be judged by common sense. Just a second ago, little Ching Kong was still babbling with Xiao Lulang, but in the blink of an eye, he was lying on the soft pillow, drooling in his sleep. Xiao Lulang liked peace and quiet, so he couldn't get used to this little guy who had been talking all night, but he didn't really throw him out. He took little Jing Kong off the pillow and tucked him into the quilt. Xiao Lulang looked at the little guy who stole his limelight. Because of his arrival, everyone forgot that he was first in the county exam. Although he didn't want to be in the limelight, he felt a little uncomfortable, as if something was missing. Creak. The door was gently pushed open. Gu Jiao Jiao leaned against the door and asked softly, "Is he asleep?" "No," Xiao Lulang said, then paused and looked at little Jing Kong, who was sleeping soundly. "He's asleep. Then I'll come in." Gu Jiao Jiao walked in quietly with an oil lamp in her hand. "I see that your oil lamp is almost used up. Why don't you use mine tonight?" "Okay." Xiao Lulang sat on the edge of the bed and responded faintly. Gu Jiao Jiao put the oil lamp on his table. "Well, I haven't congratulated you on being first in the county exam." Xiao Lulang raised his eyelids slightly. "For you." Gu Jiao Jiao handed something to him. "What is it?" Xiao Lulang asked. Gu Jiao Jiao smiled. "You've improved so much. This is your reward." Xiao Lulang turned his face away. "I'm not a kid. Why would I need a reward?" Although he said that, he still reached out and took it. It was a sachet made by Gu Jiao Jiao herself. There were dried flowers in it that helped him sleep. The dried flowers were also made by her. Gu Jiao Jiao said softly, "Take the sachet with you, and you'll be able to sleep well." "You." Xiao Lulang wanted to ask her how she knew that he couldn't sleep well. Gu Jiao Jiao guessed what he wanted to ask. She smiled and said, "Did you forget that we slept together before?" Xiao Liulang's eyebrows twitched, but his expression remained calm. Gu Jiao Jiao planned to go back to the house. She suddenly turned back after taking a step. She leaned over and whispered in his ear, "Just now did you call me Jiao Jiao?" Digression, oh asterisk, asterisk. Oh, the latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. https://www.zhpqg.com/8964-2_89642_700666921. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. www.zhpqg.com Bikuga mobile reading website. zhpqg.com that you're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.